The Situation Room. Witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound.
Welcome to the Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. Happy Tuesday, wherever you are tuned in on this 26th day of the year. Nduoko.
You're already being cheeky this morning, Eric.
Oh, no.
A man of God can't be cheeky.
How now?
Brown cow.
And since you're speaking out, he'll just bless you.
Surely. Or curse you.
Oh, wow. Good
No,
morning.
Cast out the demon.
But you're the blessing variety. A person who bless you, my child.
Child?
Yes.
Child.
You
Yes.
are a direct representative of God. Everybody's your
It's a
child.
child.
It's a
Oh, okay,
child.
that's where we're coming from. All right. Okay. Okay. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I am well, thank you.
Good to see you.
Good to be seen. Good to see you too.
Thank you for seeing me.
I do often see you.
Seti Muga,
Yes,
how are you?
I am really very well, thank you, sir.
Very good. You had that conversation with the weather again.
Let's
You have
put
to
it
keep
this
renewing
way.
this thing.
The weather and I are at odds.
Mm.
Today, it abrogated the MOU. It was exceptionally cold. Yes.
What are you telling it? You have a debt.
I was telling it must pay. We agreed.
You weather is an MOU. You owe me.
You know, this
yeah.
climate change thing is real, but those who think it isn't. I actually even stopped figuring out whether we're in the rainy season, we're in the dry season. I stopped because I can't figure it out.
You really can't tell.
Just when I'm told this is supposed to be short rains. Man, it rains as though it's going to... Hey! It's like it's raining everything. Huh?
It's the whole long thing.
Yes. No. All that length is being concentrated on 2 days of a downpour. So I am well, to answer your question.
Good.
And the story about the weather notwithstanding, I am well, thank you.
That is very good. That is very, 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 very good. Very, very good. Very, very good.
And how are you, Eric?
I am very well.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm kind of feeling like,
You've got that feeling?
yeah,
You have a feeling?
yeah, I got that feeling.
I know what it's like to have that feeling. You know how you have, I've got a feeling. You're not quite sure what it is, but you've got a feeling. It will be a good feeling.
You know something?
This
it'll
now
turn
I am
out to be good.
prophesying. I
Actually,
am
the way
prophesying.
Ndu is going about it, it's like the relics of a 1960s soul song. I have a feeling. I've got the feeling.
Got the feeling. Yeah. It's the feeling.
Oh, the feeling.
Yeah. So, welcome to the show. Today, we will have a number of conversations. So, the Provost of the All Saints Cathedral will be joining us. You see, we in the faith have decided to come out strongly, to speak out. We're no longer holding anything back. We indeed shall be the true north of the country. Be the beacon of light.
Okay, we in
Yeah.
the faith, we've got you.
Yeah.
We've heard you, we in the faith.
Bas. So, he's going to be here. We will talk about what he talked about on Sunday, where he came out and so forcefully and directly spoke about what's happening in the country in terms of the politics. He mentioned the BBI, he mentioned the corruption, he mentioned governance, and he'll be here and we'll be asking, okay, was it the feeling that you got up with that day? Or did you see a burning
We heard
bush?
this all the time.
It will pick that stick, drop the stick.
You know, there was the burning bush. There was also the fire by night after the Egypt exit. And there was a cloud.
There's a cloud by day.
Yes. So if you're talking about wondrous signs, I think we need to be encyclopedic about it.
There are very many.
Yes. Burning bush, definitely one.
Yeah.
Then you need to consider the transfiguration. That one is
Yes.
also. These things that are astounding, you look at and you say, okay, so did it really happen? Were you being visited by UFOs? Or
Was it real?
was it real?
Or at this point when they were told, all right, make that snake, giant snake. You're bitten by a snake, look at that snake,
And you'll be okay.
and you'll be well.
Or what happened in Egypt? You turn a stick into a snake.
Yeah.
And then your snake swallows other snakes.
Other snakes, and that's a sign.
And you wonder, did that really happen? Well, if you weren't in Egypt, that's your problem.
That's just shauri yako wewe.
It happened.
It happened.
If you think it didn't happen, ask the snakes which were swallowed.
It happened. We'll also be talking about youth opportunities, especially when we talk about food security. So we'll have agri-talk today. And this is, we say among a number of things. One, Kenya is an agri-based economy. Two, nafasi za ajira kwa vijana. Three, TVETs and what TVETs can do and how we can, get into and then we look at our agriculture and it's very subsistence farming based. And then you talk about opportunities for the youth, that youth grow up thinking farming is for those who did not pass. Farming is for, those who just have nothing else to do. You're just growing stuff and crops. And so what is it that we can do? So we'll have that conversation today. And the assistant minister, the chief administrative secretary in the Ministry of Health, Agriculture. Ooh, did I say health? It's all about that.
You said
COVID on your mind.
It's all those
Well,
things.
yes.
It's all
COVID
those
on-
things. Yeah, the CS for health is. So this one for agriculture will be speaking to us today. And
Agriculture.
yes,
Not agri-health. Agriculture.
agriculture. Food security is important for the well-being of the people. Has to be a tie-in somewhere.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah. So she'll be here. We'll have that conversation about that as well. And more conversations. Meanwhile, COVID. Ndo.
Yes.
Kunaendaje?
So, yesterday, the world crossed 100 million cases of COVID-19 in the country. This was going to happen. We knew that from the numbers that we had seen most recently. And then
The
also,
world.
Yes. Yes, the world.
I'm just repeating that people, you say 100 million. They'll say, but we are barely 50 million.
No.
So
We're talking about global numbers now,
Where
CT.
did we get the other 50 million?
So the world crossed 100 million COVID-19 cases yesterday. It's not fun in terms of those numbers, especially seeing what certain countries are having a difficult time battling with, right? If we look at the top 10 countries in the world, the first 10 countries in the world make up for 70% of the world's current COVID cases, with the
Those are
US.
the active cases.
Yes,
or
the active cases.
both.
So the world, it's combined, right? So active plus unfortunately deceased and those that have recovered. Okay, so the US is 25 million, India with 10 million, Brazil with 8 million, Russia with 3 million, so upwards of 3 million, the UK at almost 4 million as well, France at 3 million, Spain at almost 3 million, Italy at 2 million, Turkey at 2 million, and Germany at 2 million. These countries make up for almost 70% of the world's COVID cases. And the rest, come in. The next 10 are also in the million or just under a million. So we're looking at 20 cases making up for almost 20 countries making up for almost 80% of the world's COVID numbers. Let's look specifically at what's going on in the UK right now. Yesterday, the UK reported 22,000 cases of COVID-19. And right now, the problem that they're dealing with is saying that, again, looking at how the second strain of COVID was more dangerous than the first one. Now that word has changed to be more deadly than the first one. And this is what they're grappling with. And there's a lot of pressure right now on the UK Parliament, governments, to say, let's do something about this. Because they're not just seeing people getting infected with COVID, they're seeing people dying at a rapid rate and suffering from more severe symptoms as they get infected. And it's the second strain that they're really dealing with now and trying to say, what are we going to do about this? 592 deaths yesterday. We heard Boris Johnson when he addressed Parliament, when he addressed the nation, and he said, look, you know what, one death is too much. But now we're grappling with averages of 600 deaths a day, and the numbers are piling up. So yesterday with the 22,000 that they found, yes, a significant drop from the 30,000 that they had found the day before that, but also understanding that they'd come in also from a weekend, they said, and so it's possible to see more cases because of movement that may have happened. It's still interesting because they talk about lockdowns having been instituted around the UK, but people are still, moving about in one way or another.
So they're recording upwards of 500 deaths per day.
Yes. Which if you look at what was happening at the beginning of COVID, it was something like this. And then in the middle, all of this kind of staved off. And then now they're coming back to those numbers where things are really looking serious. And they're saying, this one, we don't know what we're going to do. Now, vaccine talk, of course, is still big on the agenda. Moderna and Pfizer say that if they're going to meet their goals of providing vaccines to the globe, they need to almost double their deliveries right now. There are a lot of shortcomings when it comes to the delivery of the vaccines. And for example, they promised to deliver 100 doses to the United States and the UK, 100 million doses to the United States and the UK by the end of March. But they'll need to be able to do some serious legwork in order to have that done. They've been delivering about 4.3 million cases a week. 4.3 million doses a week, and they're down. In order for them to meet this goal of 100 million doses by the end of March, they need to be delivering 7.5 million doses a week.
So if I may ask, what seems to be the issue here? Is it a production issue?
It's a production issue. They're just not able to
So what is it
produce
that they need to do in order to enhance their production?
Well, equipment, they say, breaks down and then they need to repair it. The doses need to pass quality tests before they're shipped. So it depends on the steady supply of chemical ingredients, things like glass vials, and also skilled labor. Remember that this is, again, even though you have people who are skilled in this, suddenly now you need people to be available to make huge amounts in a very short period of time. So labor is an issue, equipment is an issue, the raw material also is an issue. Steady supply of all of these things is affecting now the production and then in turn affects the distribution. So they're trying to say these three things specifically, we need to get them together in order for us to keep up our numbers. And so those are the things that they're looking at. So they're saying, for example, you make 300 vials for a clinical trial and everybody thinks it's fine. So you can imagine now that you've passed the clinical trials and then you need to be making 3,000 vials. I mean, in a very short period of time. And then in another 1 month, you need to be making 4 million. And then 7 million.
They will overcome. These are business enterprises.
Yeah.
Right? And it's not as though the population of the world has just suddenly been sprung on them. They knew this and they know the market, right? Sometimes when I hear this, I'm wondering whether it's a gimmick of some sort because...
I'm thinking exactly the same thing. Just to keep yourself relevant for longer. And also that, what does that do to the market and the share price? In fact, I was just looking at the share price. What's happening to the Pfizer share price over the last couple of days? It clearly shows there's great demand for Pfizer products. So what's the thing to do now? Put your money there.
See, this
is, we're not going to deal with this in 1 year, 2 years. This is going to be, because we have to invest a lot. We have got to put in a lot of effort. And
the question was asked once about a cure for HIV. Okay, now we know that there really are no cures for viruses or viral infections, but the question was also asked, are pharmaceutical companies in the business of saving lives or making money? It's a business. So if you have a virus that doesn't kill the host immediately. In fact, really takes its time in killing the virus. The host takes time and even warns you and their signs. I thought it's a very good business platform. It may sound bizarre, but it is, because so long as it can ensure that the host lives for long,
Yep.
you have a client.
Just prolong life.
Make sure that the life is good.
Yep.
You have a client.
Prolong life and make that life dependent on this.
Yes.
As long as you're taking this, your life shall be prolonged. You don't take, your life is cut short dramatically.
Anyone who has a chronic ailment will know this. Because you ask, is it possible for you to do without the medication? Yet the medication makes you
Sicker.
better.
Initially.
Sometimes it makes you sicker, but eventually it will make you better. Right? It's like new spectacles. When you first put them on, the world is a very strange topsy-turvy place. Before your eyes sort of like adjust.
Then you adjust to what you're seeing now. Okay, so let's take a break at this point. 16 minutes after 6. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room. We are live streaming on Spice FM KE, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and www.spicefm.co.ke. Let's see who's online shortly, and we'll be saying hello to them. In the meantime, let us see how the weather looks like in various parts of the world. There's a city somewhere where it's minus 50. And guys are so pissed off they're out demonstrating.
Outside.
Against the weather.
No, government, something.
Okay. It means that they seriously are something. They have something to say, don't they?
Completely. Out there in minus 40 degrees. 17 after 6. Good morning.
Spice FM.
Hey, it's getting hot in here. The media has greatly contributed to the moral rot that we experience in this country.
I remember a senior politician telling me, point blank, nobody steals in the field, it's stolen in the granary. So my friend, if you're going to win an election, jipange kwa granary.
I think we are suffering from Stockholm syndrome. Our violator and abuser is also our redeemer in our mind.
The whole political class, the whole political institution is rotten. It is based on ideals that cannot progress our country forward.
This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day. The weather with Spice FM.
Nairobi this morning is mostly cloudy at 16 degrees. We're going to see a low of 15 and going to highs of 26. This Tuesday in Nyeri is mostly clear at 11, highs of 24, and coming down to Kenya low of 9. It's mostly clear in Nakuru at 13, highs of 29 and lows of 12. We're looking at partly cloudy conditions in Eldoret at 12, highs of 25 and lows of 11. 19 will be the low in Kisumu, where it's mostly cloudy in most parts at 20, highs of 31 today. Partly cloudy conditions in Kakamega at 14, highs of 13 and highs of 33 and lows of 13. Mostly clear conditions in Mombasa at 25, highs of 31 and lows of 24. We're looking at partly cloudy conditions in Malindi at 26, highs of 31 and lows of 25. It's clear in Kampala at 19, highs of 26 and lows of 18. We're looking at clear conditions at the moment in Dar es Salaam at 26 degrees with highs of 32 and lows of 25. It's 16 degrees and mostly cloudy in Johannesburg this morning, highs of 21 and lows of 15. Likely to start raining any moment now. It's a foggy morning in Lagos at 25 degrees. We're coming down to lows of 24 and highs of 34. Also, the highs will be 34 in Kinshasa, 24 degrees at the moment, and clear skies. And that's the low for today. Sunny conditions in Beijing ring through at 3 degrees this morning, highs of -9 and lows of -9 and highs of 7. It's -1 today in Paris, below freezing. It's also flooding in some parts, causing some serious sleet. Highs of 5 and lows of 3. It's 1 degree. Clear skies in London. Highs of 6 and lows of 1. And finally, for now, Monday night in New York rings at 2 degrees. Clear skies, however, coming into Tuesday. Highs of 4 and lows of -1.
Spice FM. Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
This, according to the National Geographic, is the coldest city on Earth. It's in Siberia. It's called Yakutsk in the Sakha Republic. Today, it's just an average of -51 degrees.
Only, okay.
Just.
Okay.
-51 today.
So essentially, what we've been seeing in Belarus has now come to Russia proper.
Sits there. This is basically coldest on earth throughout in Siberia. And then in the summers, it goes to 30.
Minus 30.
Plus,
Oh, plus 30, yeah.
30.
So that's like Malindi.
like it just becomes extremely hot from what on earth is this? It's Yakuts.
Chakuts.
Yep.
I'd
Okay.
love to visit there.
Who is online this morning?
Everybody. Good morning, guys. And that's Shirage Mwai is already on the train this morning, or rather, he's headed to the station. And he says, on this 75th day of January, Reverend Eric Latif, give us a word to push us in January south. So, are you preparing the word?
Yes.
Okay. Leban says, good morning from Koryot Nandi. Chebo Abdallah Valley is tuned in from Kaptumo in Nandi. Bade Ashley is tuned in. And as well, Timothy Igamba Wapasha tuned in from Roiro. And Polisi Junior Atetwe is tuned in from Lukume in Cabras. Doka Skimodo is back and says, good morning, Malindi Tukochonjo. And Moses Gashari, the Juja representative, it says, good morning. Good morning to everybody from Robert. A fabulous morning to you guys. You are officially the 6 o'clock club owners. And he's tuned in from Chai Road in Juja. And that's Stanley. And Benson Kiplagat is tuned in from Daraweta in Bomet County. A very good morning. And this is Lish Veneza, tuned in as usual. Kwamtuse Mwenge, that's where Ondicho is tuned in from this morning. And Clinton Havertz says he's tuned. Kisumu City, 102.5. That's where Victor Chi is tuned in from. Milimani Estate in Nakuru is where Charity is. And says, good morning. Shadrach Kiprono says, good morning as well from Eldoret. Happy Tuesday, Reverend Eric, Your Grace. Cyprian Mora says, good morning. Good morning. Also, everybody's tuned in this morning. Anne is tuned in from Dubai. Waterman is tuned in from Minneapolis. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning from wherever you are around the world. CT, today's proverb.
Right. Appropriate, isn't it? That today should have its own specific proverb pertaining only to today.
I wonder whether today is about a monkey or...
My friend. It's about a zebra.
Okay.
Not everyone who chases a zebra caught it, but he who caught it chased it.
Not everyone who chased the zebra caught it, but he who caught it chased it. Okay. Could have been one of those guys who was just sitting there. You chase the zebra, I'll wait for it here.
Usually it's a team effort. Just you running after the zebra and catching it.
Ngumu.
Tall order.
Ngumu sana.
Even if it's injured, tall order.
But you know those people who are just like that? Okay, so you guys are going to hunt for the zebra and you'll be chasing it in that direction. I'm going to
I'll
wait for it.
it
in that
We'll
direction.
just be here.
I'll just wait for it. Chase it, chase it, chase it. It comes, strike the arrow, catch it. I'm the one who caught it. Kwendeni kabisa.
You know,
But we chased it. So did you catch it?
it actually, what you're actually talking about is something that was considered a tactic when it came to hunting. They were the beaters. People who beat the bush, scared the animal. And then there are those who are waiting for it on the other side.
Let's wait for it on the other end.
But if you look at, say, for instance, documentaries of lions hunting, they do the same thing.
Yep.
They're the lions who sort of like scare whatever prey it is in a certain direction. And then they're the other ones waiting.
We're waiting for it on
Yes.
the other end. Yeah.
Those particular cats need to learn how to swim and wait for the wildebeest migration. Because there you don't really need to bother very much.
Yeah, they'll just come.
They will actually come to you.
Yeah. Okay, so let's take a look at the headlines. Today's headlines in the papers.
There's one headline that caught my attention.
Yes.
Page 15 of the Star. 40% of Kenyans live in extreme poverty. World Bank. Kenya is ranked the third poorest lower middle income country globally.
Jeez.
Just in case Kenyans want to feel hot and think of how well they're doing. Third poorest middle
Lower
income.
middle income.
Yes,
we are a lower middle income.
Me, I don't understand these things.
How many lower middle income countries are there? Maybe you're being ranked about
Maybe they're like three.
yeah, they're like 3. So.
No. Folks. Middle income countries are many.
So how many are they?
In total?
Yes.
Ndu will tell
We
you
are
just
third
now.
of the report.
Let me just let
You
me just
continue
read.
reading as Ndu tells
Okay.
us.
Kenya is ranked the third poorest lower middle income country globally in a new study released by the World Bank. The World Bank State of Economic Inclusion Report 2021 has shown that more than 40% of Kenyans currently live in extreme poverty. Now, the level of poverty is approximately 10 times higher than in Pakistan and Egypt, which are also categorized as lower middle income countries.
Even Pakistan and Egypt.
Yes,
So who's higher than?
lower in middle income.
What did you say? 10 times higher.
Yes,
Please
our
please
poverty
read that.
is more.
Oh, is more.
Yes, 10 times
So
more.
we are 10 times poorer than Egypt.
Yes.
And Pakistan. Okay.
Now, just if in case you're feeling
That's doable.
completely terribly bad and you think this might make you feel better, Zambia is the poorest, with 61% of its citizens living in poverty.
Okay.
Nigeria at 58%, while Cote d'Ivoire is fourth at 30%. Zimbabwe has a
So
low...
Nigeria is worse than us.
No, they're better than us.
Oh.
No, they're worse than us.
Zambia poorest.
Yes, then Nigeria,
Nigeria second poorest.
Then Cote d'Ivoire is
then
fourth.
Cote d'Ivoire.
at 30%.
Uh-huh.
Zimbabwe, which we keep thinking is poor.
They are middle income.
Yes,
I thought it's a third world.
has a low poverty rate of of 23%, but has a high poverty head count, almost at 80% of its total population. The question we should ask is, how do they measure these poverty levels? Do they measure it by the number of people who actually earn a living and can be documented as earning a living? Do they take into account subsistence farming, which is earning a living,
Yeah.
and which enables people to go about their businesses daily? What is it that they use?
Yeah. Do they look at earning or do they look at lifestyle?
There is an index that the World Bank uses, and they determine, and it's based on the dollar, that if it is assumed that your earning is below a certain amount in dollars, then you enter that particular bracket. Yes.
Then you are poor.
What I think sometimes they don't take into account is how little many people in these so-called third world banana republics need to survive.
They assume that you need
They should be
more.
looking at lifestyle, basically. Look at So, are you living a lifestyle where you're able to have a roof over your head? Do you have a roof over your head? All right. What's the quality of the roof over your head? Do you have how many square meals are you able to have in a week? How many square meals per
And
week?
there are people who've accustomed themselves to having 1 square meal a day. Okay, so you may think they're poor, but they don't think they're poor.
Yeah.
Okay, remember, poverty becomes alive and is well by comparison. Okay, remember yesterday we were talking about a point in time in the history of this country when it was normal to go to school barefooted. Okay. Now, the only time that walking barefooted became an issue was with the invention of shoes and the propagation of the wearing of shoes. So if you're not wearing shoes, then you're poor.
Yeah.
In fact, you're not only poor, you're suffering.
You're suffering.
Yes.
You come from a low income household. In the meantime, as all that is happening, as we try to battle and get ourselves out of that level of poverty, have you found out how many?
Well,
It's all over. The information is like
jumbled
this.
up. So I mean,
What, left, right, and center.
And there's some
But
people
don't
who are-
worry.
okay.
Don't worry. We are better than Nigeria. So,
well, there's Well, I'll just allow you that for now.
yeah, that's why you chose Kenya.
Excuse me.
Escape from poverty.
Some people.
Our budget in the next financial year is going to be 3 trillion shillings. Okay? The year that we are recovering from COVID-19, the year that we are coming out of all these things, it's going to rise from 2.8 trillion shillings in the current financial year. Into the next financial year, it's going to be 3 trillion shillings. So the National Treasury has released their budget policy statement. Usually the budget policy statement is one that tells you how much the government wants to spend in the next financial year. And then the CS will come now and tell you the taxation measures that will take place around June when he reads the budget. But this is how much he wants to spend. 3 trillion shillings. He is taking this report to Parliament. The next thing that should happen is Parliament, through the Budget Committee of Parliament, should look at this budget policy statement, should ask questions, and then they should either approve or reject this report. We have seen, as we've seen before, committees of parliament to just go and they say, oh, but you know. Okay, you just take the budget. What does Ukur Yatani want to do? There's going to be some serious deficit in that. So our capacity to raise own revenue stands at about 1.4 trillion shillings. 1.6, let's even give them 1.8. So there's an entire 1 trillion shillings. That's a budget deficit.
1.2.
Sasa hiyo itatoka wapi? External debt 345 billion. That is going to be 2.8% of our GDP. And then net domestic borrowing is going to be 592 billion. That's 4.7% of our GDP. So it's a headline in The Nation. It's also a sub-headline and given page 2 and 3 coverage in The Standard, where it says, inside Uhuru's record 3 trillion shillings budget. This is going to push Uhuru's 8-year total expenditure to 18.5 trillion shillings in 8 years of President Uhuru Kenyatta's government. Let's say, not 8, let's give him 9 years of President Uhuru Kenyatta's administration. 18 trillion shillings will have been spent.
I do understand that what we owe more or less covered by what we collect. That one I've figured out.
Yeah.
Okay? I know I'm slow at understanding things, but this one I've gotten to understand. So it means that if we were to take the view that that is a state that is unlikely to change soon, then we have to also admit that the state of borrowing is also unlikely to change soon.
Yep.
Because to survive, we actually need
the money.
to borrow.
For you to get the money, you need to borrow.
Yes. Now, on the other hand, if we can agree with these wonderful people who lent us money that not to pay them, then it means we will have the money. At least I'm assuming that's what it means.
But at some point,
No, we will pay.
you'll start paying.
Well, the moratorium is for 6 months, really, until we come to the end of the financial year. It's not as though it is.
It's not like they gave you
no,
money.
no,
and then
at
they told
5
you,
years,
it's
no.
okay.
It's
You
just 6 months.
don't pay me. You ukipata utanilipa.
But you see, the reason why I bring up this discussion, Eric, is because I remember something that we've discussed here before and something which President Kibaki did. For a whole year, President Kibaki halted any of these huge infrastructure development projects.
Yeah.
Halted, completely halted, and focused on just collecting. And then after a year is when now that government embarked on this. So I'm asking the question again. It is important for the economy to keep moving, but can it also not move if development projects, some of these really high expenditure ones, are put on hold? Because we are building on debt also. So it's not the old debt. We've borrowed some more.
Yep.
So even this 1.5678 trillion that we collect, it appears may not be enough.
Of course, it won't be enough. First of all, recurrent spending, this is wages, interest payments, salaries, blah, 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 is going to be 1.975 trillion.
We have not done any development, nothing.
It is more than you're raising. Okay? That means, basically, that you live in a 100,000 shillings house and your salary is 60,000 bob.
So you're going to be dealing in the realm of magicians.
So first of
to be
all,
able to make things
borrow
work.
30,000 to pay the landlord, then now start looking for food, for clothes, for school fees,
Other
for
items.
transport, for
Or-
everything else.
Or if it's a 4-bedroomed house, occupy one. Lease the others. If there are 3 which you can lease,
So that's why you're going to raise the 30K.
you can raise 45. So
And you live with the rest of your
So you
family
get
in
a
the one
comfort.
room.
that is what you're going to have to do.
So you need to cut your coat according to your cloth.
Oh,
How
that
about
means
you
that
move out of the 100,000 shilling house?
usually by the time you leave that 100,000 shilling house, the logic of living in a different house doesn't actually apply to your situation. Yes, because you've arrived at this
Here you
level.
went and signed a lease that said that this house, the landlord has said, how many people are going to live in this house? Me, my wife, and my 2 children. This house shall be occupied by 4 adults, 2 adults, and 2 children. Bas. So if you want to think about those things that is you subletting, decide, is it the wife that's living in the house so that another adult can come? Is it the children that are living so you can bring more children? You have to decide. Because this is salary.
You see why I mention it?
1.95 trillion.
Why I mention it, Eric, is because it sounds ridiculous, and it is. But it is, you brought it home nicely. Give it a domestic perspective and realize how ridiculous it is. But this is something we keep doing. In fact, you're talking about that. What have we gone and done? We've leased a second house.
Yeah. We live in 2 houses.
So the second one you can't even pay at all.
No, we're having difficulties with this one.
The first one you've not even been able to pay.
I told you what you are doing. What
so now the second one is a story.
It's a story. What you did is you went to Thailand Carpet Center. Remember the story I told you about this guy who bought a bathtub for the day that he shall build his own house. He's currently renting. Bought a bathtub. Big 1 million shilling bathtub. You've come with it. You don't have your home. This home where you live in can't fit a bathtub. So you've rented a house for that bathtub. You live in this house. So you're paying 2 rents.
Or more.
So you get rid of the bathtub. No. This bathtub is very important. You know, one day I'll build my own house.
Around the bathtub.
Yeah. And this bathtub it's my dream.
Really, you must look at the progressive manner in which people plan. Bathtub. Okay. So we've gotten a bathtub ourselves.
That's where we are. Where the money is going to be spent on. Special focus areas. There's post-COVID recovery strategy that we know. There is the Big 4 agenda. There's the new stimulus plan, new ICT framework, and PPEs. We'll be spending money on PPEs. Okay. And the revenues will be coming from toll fees for private investors.
Such as this.
Mimi nakuambia. In Kenya, 23 minutes to 7. Let's take a look at traffic and then continue with the headlines.
Spice FM.
It's getting hot in here.
Oh, everybody steals. It's better a thief who brings something small back. And I say to myself, there's no better thief. A thief is a thief, period.
All those bribes, how much they're getting per year, how much inconvenience they're causing, as much as you call it a small case, it's worth it to be convicted.
The truth is, we are a tribal nation. Because if we were not tribal, and I want to go back to this, you cannot continue walking around with a mug which is clean outside and it's rotten inside.
We have become a fuliza country. We have mortgaged our country because of debt.
You've got one chef working, and the assistant chef, wakati anatakana koroge unga nini hayuko,
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
All right, let's take a look at what's happening this morning on the roads. Usual suspects this morning lining up for duty. Mombasa Road already piling up between the SGR and General Motors. Very, very slow this morning. We're going to come out and then get towards Bellevue where it slows down again some. Remember, guys, we have to remind you every morning it's because of the construction that's going on. And from what we are seeing, all indications it's going to be like this for some time. So every day you got to prepare as you get out. Thika Road at Pangani, bumper to bumper at the tunnel. Moving very slowly as you get into the CBD. Kiambu Road already piling up as you then try to approach Thika Road. Outer Ring, let's look at that, is also piling up this morning. Jogo Road as you get towards Landis Road into the CBD, also looking slow already. We're officially already in traffic hours. That's earlier and earlier every day. So this one, plan ahead. We'll take a look at what's happening on the bypasses in a short while. But you should be able to use Red Hill coming out of Westlands. You should be able to use the Eastern and Southern to and from Mombasa Road and Thika Road respectively. We'll let you know what goes on. Let us know also what you see or you might be stuck. Spice FMKE on Twitter. Text 40127.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.
Yes. It's Kibicho versus Sonko, and that's on the front page of the Standard today. Bring it on. Interior PS takes on Sonko for linking him to an alleged deep state group that engineered chaos to counter ODM protests in 2017. But the former governor says he's ready with the damning evidence. And this is on page 4. A no-holds-barred approach to letting out what may have happened. And it also looks like a case of, if I'm going down, I'm not going down alone. The PS distances himself from allegations on the 2017 chaos and accuses the former city governor of character assassination. Interior PS Karanja Kibicho has declared war on former Governor Mike Sonko and vowed to sue him over claims that they jointly participated in crime in 2017. Sonko, while speaking in Dagoretti on Sunday at a function where he had accompanied Deputy President William Ruto, claimed he and Kibicho, disguised as ODM supporters, planned chaos in Nairobi during the 2017 electioneering period. And I quote, "I want to reveal here that in 2017, I and Kibicho, together with the system, printed ODM t-shirts, bought second-hand cars, then burnt them on Gong Road so as to be seen it was ODM supporters that had burnt them." Kibicho, speaking shortly after recording a statement with the DCI yesterday, distanced himself from the allegations and accused Sonko of character assassination. The PS vowed to seek legal redress by the end of this week and vowed to pursue justice on account that Sonko publicly admitted to crimes assassinating his character by alleging he was involved in the murder of former Vice President George Saitoti and that plans were afoot to kill him, Sonko, and Dr. Ruto. My goodness. All right. It's a lot in this pot.
So Sonko says he did these things with the help of other people and the deep state. So Sonko knows deep state.
Apparently he knows who deep state is. He knows the members. They're all together.
What he should be saying, this deep state you guys talk about, I know them.
No, we are
the ones.
Yeah.
I and so are deep state. I can prove it by showing you that we did this and the other. I think this is some of those things that should not even be getting coverage.
Jeez.
You know something?
Because it's obvious that whatever this gentleman is saying, there is, if indeed what you're saying is true, then it's very serious. And if it's not true, then it's also very serious.
Very serious.
But it's true to form. What is certainly clear, whatever scenario you wish to believe to be true, the immediate former governor of Nairobi is not someone anyone should do business with. Because in the not too distant future, what is a guarantee is that he will let the whole world know whatever it is that the two of you are doing, especially the things you thought you were doing in secret.
No, also just don't know this man. Because he'll come out and say, I was sitting somewhere with City and we decided we're going to buy. City has absolutely no clue that he has never even conjured up the idea of buying Mombasa Road. And just because this person has gotten there and he's gotten the podium and he said, City and I decided to buy Mombasa Road, now it's a point of, but you see now, City, when you do business with this person, make sure you don't go into some certain lengths. You cannot stand up and tell people, I have never even thought of buying Mombasa Road.
You won't even be able to start.
Yeah. As long as you were seen together somewhere on Mombasa Road having tea.
That's it.
That's it.
That's what you're planning.
Yeah.
To answer the question you asked earlier on, there are 53 middle-income countries.
Okay.
And there are 56 upper middle. So essentially, lower middle is us. Okay?
So from the 53, all middle income.
There's lower and upper.
Okay.
Us, we're in the lower.
We're in the lower side.
And just so that you understand, Nigeria is actually in the upper.
So Nigeria is in the upper. Of course.
When you talk about middle income, now you talk about an aggregate.
Okay.
Okay. You look at this is what the country produces. Simple arithmetic. How many people do they have? They're not doing too badly.
It's against the population and in terms of how
Okay. Sawa. So go ahead.
I can go ahead.
Yes.
Okay. So the state has decided to impose a curfew in capital.
There's a countrywide curfew in the country.
Yes, but now there's a countrywide curfew in the country that is between the hours of 4 a.m. and 10 p.m. So rather 10 p.m. and 4 a.m. Okay, that's when the curfew is. Now in Capedo, the government has decided that it will impose a dusk till dawn curfew. So we're looking at 6 p.m., right? As it steps up the war against banditry in the area. Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i yesterday declared Kapedo a disturbed zone, saying it's time to deal with the issue once and for all. Close to 10 people have been killed in Kapedo over the past week as insecurity in the region escalates. He said yesterday that a 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. curfew that is yet to be gazetted would be strictly enforced to enhance security operations. It's not a matter of cattle rustling, as we suppose, he says. It's a criminal activity that is funded and sometimes supported by local leaders. This is again now the second person that we've heard say this. We have postponed the problem for too long. Not anymore, he said. He revealed that Kapedo will soon be designated as a special operation area. We will remain there until this problem is completely sorted out. He added that security officers were targeting some villages considered a safe haven for the bandits. Matiang'i said bandits had been emboldened because government kept postponing handling of the matter. A few years ago, those thugs killed 44 of our police officers. Later on, they killed 21 more. And recently, the cycle has continued. He says, we are not allowing this anymore.
So basically, what Matiang'i is saying, he's the one who said this. What George Watembea was telling us yesterday,
yes.
He was basically echoing what his boss has said. This time round.
Not joking. We can be talking here about cattle rustling and the sharing of resources, but that's not the issue. We're dealing with criminals. And
this
we're going
is
to
the criminal.
slay this head.
It is no longer when Tekla Lorupe was dealing with those were cultural issues that would bring in, conflict between the Pokot, the Turkana, the Karamoja in Uganda. Those were those cultural skirmishes. Tekla Lorupe spent a lot of her time, her energy, trying to bring peace, and others in the region. These are criminals.
That's it. We're dealing with criminal
Deal
activity
with
here.
criminals. Just like CT was saying yesterday. What did the government do to Matuakwe?
My friend, what they did...
Matuakwe in about people's whatever.
It's about land...
Defense force.
Yes. What these gentlemen, what these people were doing, they were levying taxes on people, and if you didn't pay whatever it is, they cut off your ear. And they terrorized the region and even claimed they had something like 35,000 followers.
Yeah.
Sorry, your what?
Yeah.
Yes.
They cut off what?
Your ear.
Yeah.
Oh.
They were terrible. So they decided, once and for all, this thing has to stop. Not only was he killed, but they paraded his bodies in all the villages so that people could know he was actually dead.
Yes.
Now, what then followed was a hue and cry from
local leaders, human rights organizations.
They kicked a fuss.
The operation there, was it inhuman?
So you see, the question was asked, okay, let's balance this. Which is more inhumane? What this person was doing or what we have stopped? Because, you see, they were not just also harassing and killing their own people.
Yeah.
My friend, they were killing police. Now, in that case, even though it's an internal matter, you've actually declared war.
And you call yourself the defense force.
You have actually declared a war. And what is worse, that person had been in the disciplined forces. Wycliffe Matakwe had been in the disciplined forces. At some point, he was part of the presidential unit. So he was trained.
Yep.
Remember, this was something which was mentioned also. Some of these people whom they're fighting are trained.
Yep.
They're not just ordinary civilians.
They have worked in the disciplined forces, either in the police or in the military. They have that kind of training. They have that kind of... I support them. Let them deal with this thing once and for all.
Shut this thing down.
Once and for all. Now, between now and 2026, you see all these people who have these kayaks, selling second-hand vehicles, many ships docking, carrying vehicles for use domestically. This thing of second-hand vehicles is going to be phased out, and by 2026, it will no longer be possible for you to import a second-hand vehicle.
Why?
You will be buying a brand new car. This is according to the National Automotive Policy that was formulated by the Ministry of Industrialization, that is now also being mentioned by the Ministry of the National Treasury in the budget policy statement. They're saying we are putting in place measures to ensure that by 2026, which is a cutoff date that has been formulated in this policy, we go into either buying locally assembled vehicles completely. So this thing of buying second-hand imported vehicles ends in 5 years. 5. Guys, 5. It was only 5 years ago in 2016.
Yeah.
By the way, is it in law?
Policy statement.
Policy
It's now
statements.
going into budget policy. It goes into like that. Becomes a government policy. That means that taxation measures will be imposed such that it becomes more expensive for you to import that vehicle. Then also comes into regulations that no, you cannot import any vehicle that is more than 2 months old.
But you know, it's already that way because they started off with ensuring that the taxes levied on vehicles was very high. Then we said if this car is older than 8 years, was it 7 or 8 years old, it cannot come into the country.
Yeah, that's what it is currently now.
Yes. 7.
Yeah, 7.
7. Then there was the issue of does this car have a catalytic converter so that it reduces the emissions that goes into the air.
Yeah.
But now, what makes this thing more interesting now, we have into the market electrical vehicles, which are supposed to be completely green. Absolutely green. And then we have the hybrid vehicles. So all these things are happening at the same time. And then there are countries who are now saying that at a certain point in time, they're going to stop producing these fuel guzzlers because of the emissions that they contribute to, should we say, the erosion of our atmosphere.
Yep.
The truth of the matter, it isn't the vehicles, it is industry. Vehicles contribute significantly. Industry. If you ever visited China and you flew into, is it pronounced Guangzhou or Guangzhou?
Guangzhou.
Okay. One of the things which we're now seeing is people wear masks all the time. And it was difficult to tell whether it was morning, midday, or evening because there is a permanent overcast. Permanent overcast.
Their weather reports even take that into consideration. So they're looking at the smog levels on certain days.
And
so you
in-
know that you
yes.
can drive into this area of the country without too much of an issue.
Now, COVID has actually helped reduce that considerably.
By shutting down industry for a couple of months.
Yes. Places where you'd never seen sunlight are now seeing sunlight.
Yeah.
So what am I saying? I am saying it's actually in compliance with what's happening in the globe. But 5 years from now. So if you already have that vehicle, what do you do with it?
No, if you have it, you're not importing. You already have it. See, it'll get to a point where it's old and then it'll just go. Just the same way they said. It doesn't mean that we are saying you cannot import a vehicle older than 5 years. If you have 7 years, if you have a vehicle older than 10 years, you can't drive it. It'll natural cause, or it just becomes you take it to the concours once a year. But now the issue here is, if you're not importing second-hand vehicles, then you need to have serious vehicle assembly plants in the country. Serious vehicle assembly plants that are already able to meet that demand. How many vehicles are coming into the country every year? Second-hand vehicles. Can you meet that demand locally? Right? So are we able to do that? So that's where the National Treasury comes in.
And are folks going to be able to afford brand new vehicles?
To buy a brand
Yeah.
new vehicle.
We actually can if
Especially-
they reduce the taxes.
Now, you see, now the problem is, because you're being forced into that direction, and because this company has been told, come and set up Haraka Haraka, it's not going to be cheap in the initial stages.
Look at it. People are able to now buy a vehicle 600,000 shillings, 700,000 shillings, albeit 8 years old, second hand, comes in from another country, but you
Yep.
can do that at that price.
Yeah.
With a locally assembled vehicle or a brand new vehicle, you're going to easily be looking at double that price.
Look at that.
then-
Some of these locally assembled vehicles, for example, the plant in Thika that's doing VWs, right? So they already rolled them out. They're selling them in the country. About £1 million point something for the VW small car, the Golf. If you look at that vehicle in terms of the fittings, what it has for £1 million shillings, and you look at how much the other similar model of vehicle is having when it's 5, 6, 7 years old and you're importing it, it's a world of a difference. World of a difference. So it's going to be, well, let's see. Anyway, they have 5 years. Kick can down the road. Next president, next administration
Change it.
deals with that, imposes it. The Attorney General has gone to court and he has filed an advisory opinion in the Supreme Court where he says that this oncoming referendum, people should forget about talking about multiple answer referendum. He says, although the IEBC may float a single question or multiple one, the final decision should be a wholesome vote on the referendum bill based on a yes or no. He acknowledges the Constitution is silent on a number of questions a referendum bill may have, but he says, by having an omnibus bill, the final yes or no should be the response that counts. Explaining that the public backs a proponents of each subjecting each issue to a vote, then we'd have to go through a tedious and expensive affair of seeking 1 million signatures verifications to every question. So he's saying, no. The way to go to this referendum is one question, yes, no. That is what determines. Yes to the amendments that have been proposed, no to the amendments that have been proposed. If we say that this question, the other question, then now that becomes a whole tedious thing. Anyway, let's see if the Supreme Court
agrees with it. It's no longer an
it.
election, then now it is turned into a survey.
That becomes like a general election.
A survey is where you have to answer all those many
Multiple questions. And surveys are conducted anyway. I mean, come on.
All right, Eric.
What is this big thing? Talk about the debt.
You should talk about the debt.
Not the national debt, but the Mount Kenya debt.
Okay, if we have to. So, you owe me a debt, lastly. And this according to ODM leader Raila Odinga. Facing Mount Kenya, he says, in a renewed charm offensive for President Uhuru's backyard. ODM leader Raila Odinga tells the region it owes him a big political debt accumulated over the last, get this, 57 years by Kenya's 3 presidents. And now it is time to repay, it seems. And this is what he said. The problem started when those who served under Kibaki, when he was sick, reneged on the MOU. We had an MOU to change the constitution. I was the one who was betrayed, not any other person. They are the ones with my debt. I don't owe anyone. We went to Bomas. I was betrayed a second time because they said no to constitutional changes. It is me they owe. But what we are doing now is to make sure we forget the past and unite the country. So he says a little bit more that he rekindled the rich history binding his family and the Luo community to central residents and the country's 3 presidents. He narrated how his father's association with Jomo Kenyatta, Mwai Kibaki, and Uhuru Kenyatta in a 58-year-old affair characterized with love, hate, and betrayal, iced with a mountain of political debt. So he said that the region owes him a political debt, recalling how he stood with Kibaki in the poll and ended Kanu's rule, and even when he, Kibaki, was involved in a serious road accident, he picked up the mantle. He said that his father forfeited the chance to form the first African government, demanding that Jomo Kenyatta be released first as a condition for Kenya's freedom.
We spoke to 2 guys. We spoke to 2 guys who are debt collectors. We should give Raila that number.
So that he can help them.
Yeah, you want to go collect your debt. Use these guys; they'll help you collect your debt. I have a feeling, and I've just looked at these headlines and what he was saying yesterday, and when the news came out, and I was asking myself, is Raila getting to a point where he has occasional foot in mouth moments? Because I saw like this is one of those.
Why?
Either it's in the reporting. You don't tell someone you owe me.
Why? If they owe you, why shouldn't you?
How do you collect your debt otherwise?
Because
how do you even let them know that they owe you?
Because you do not have that agreement that you guys will owe me.
Oh, no. This is a debt that is based on a promise. And
Promise made by who?
But Eric,
Mount Kenya region or by an individual?
Eric.
So because Jomo Kenyatta did this to Jaramogi, now it's owned.
Leaders aren't leaders if they don't have people they represent.
Okay, I'm comparing these two. Look at Tanga Ruto.
Yes.
Okay? See, there's a Kumi Yangu, Kumi ya William.
Yes.
When the Mount Kenya, the Tanga brigade were going around Mount Kenya, they were not saying we owe Ruto. They were saying we promised.
That's a debt, by
right,
the way.
yes.
A promise is a debt.
But the wording of it is not that you owe me. It's not that you owe me. It's like we made a pledge. When Ruto himself comes to speak, he says, no, there is no debt. Every time Ruto talked about this issue, he was like, There is
but
no debt.
Ruto isn't Raila, is he?
And that's why I'm saying foot in mouth in the case of Raila, in my
Not
opinion.
necessarily, because
Let's see how it plays out. Let us see the reaction to
issue
this.
of debt,
That you owe me.
the mentioning of even the promise was a contentious issue.
Yeah.
between the
Let
pre-
us see, City. 7 o'clock. Good morning.
Spice up your life. Spice FM, Nakuru.
Okay, so it's looking a little bit chaotic
Traffic.
on Thika Road this morning. Trying to get into the CBD is an absolute mess. We're looking at traffic on Kiambu Road all the way, and it's trying to join right there at the Muthaiga corner. It's going to take some time. The Muthaiga underpass from Kiambu is moving very slowly right now, joining all traffic in different directions. It's not moving as quickly as we'd like it to. All right, it looks like it will be chaotic today. From Mutali towards Muthaiga, also very slow on the highway. You can use the service lanes, but you can come back there, and it is bumper to bumper. Limuru Road, coming into the city centre, also bumper to bumper as you pass the village market and then out towards the Aga Khan Hospital, also moving very, very slowly this morning. The Red Hill bypass will do you some good as you're coming out of Westlands. It'll take you some time to get out of that, but you should be fine. Let's look at Mombasa Road. It's piling up quite some right at the Gateway Mall. It's bumper to bumper. It's going to take you some time to get out of there as well. As you get to the Nyeri Stadium roundabout and get onto Huru Highway, it's also slow. So slow is the order you're using right now. Let us know where you might be stuck. Or if you find an alternate route as usual, let us know too. Spice FMKE, that's on Twitter. Text 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to
2.5
start
minutes
your
after 7
day.
o'clock. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. It's The Situation Room. Welcome to the second hour of the show. In this hour and into the next hour, we'll be live on KTN Home as well. And we are live on Spice FM, 94.4 in Nairobi. In Mombasa, it's 87.9. Malindi, 97.7. 90.9 in Nyeri. 96.7 in Eldoret. 96.0 in Nakuru. 102.5 in Kisumu. And online, Spice FM KE on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Twitter. Let's begin the hour before we introduce our guest by hearing today's proverb from CT.
Not everyone who chases the zebra caught it, but he who caught it chased it.
Not everyone who chases the zebra caught it, but he who caught it chased it.
Yes.
Nice one. Where is this from?
South Africa.
It's a South African proverb.
Yes.
Okay. So let's introduce our guests into the studio. We have with us the Provost of the All Saints Cathedral of the Anglican Church of Kenya, the Very Reverend Canon Sami Wainaina. Good morning.
Good morning.
Asante sana for joining us. Happy New Year. It's good to see you.
Happy New Year. Thank you for having me.
Yes.
It's good to be back here.
Yeah.
I think I came after COVID.
Yes.
My COVID experience.
After your COVID.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. How are you feeling?
Well.
You forgot that your body moved on.
Yes, you're reminding me.
Good. Good. It's good to have that testimony that, you can get COVID, you can recover.
Oh, yeah.
And you can continue living your life. Kawaida. Karibu sana to the show.
Asante sana.
And we're glad to have you here.
Thank you.
As everybody will understand, we have the Provost in the studio because the Provost used his platform on Sunday to speak to the nation. And so we are having that conversation with him to understand what exactly he meant. Canon Sami Wainaina spoke on Sunday in church. And Ndu, what is it that he was saying? And then I'll play that clip.
Well, I mean, I mean, he's right here, so he can tell us exactly what he said. But I mean, we heard it. The whole nation heard it. And to say that, look, I think there was some irresponsibility that was being called out on the part of the government, and being able to say, look, we cannot continue in this manner. There are certain things that we cannot continue to call on Kenyans to do when we have a leadership who is not taking responsibility in this country and focusing on things that are absolutely not necessary at this point. There's an article on what you said during the sermon, but essentially what you were talking about here was saying that, politicians have been given a leeway for too long. Government has been given a leeway for too long and has not taken responsibility for what it is supposed to do. And I think you use a lot of more poignant words than that on Sunday to say, look, the games have got to stop. And Kenyans are being put on the altar of irresponsibility all the time, and they are the ones who are being sacrificed, and government leaders need to take responsibility for leading this country the right way. And that's what you said.
A number of things you said. We are a nation of thieves. BBI will not solve our problems, and reggae must stop.
In churches.
In church.
And also to ask the question, who is supposed to take care of the country if the head of the country is confessing that there's corruption going on and that there's theft on a daily basis? So if the head of the country is saying that there's theft and corruption, who then is supposed to rule? And I think that's one of the questions that you asked.
Yeah. Let me start by playing just this one clip where he says a nation of thieves. Just listen to this.
What we lack in Kenya are not principles. We lack values. We believe in hard work that brings wealth, isn't it? That is a principle that is universal, but it's also timeless. We all believe that when you work hard, and Kenyans know how to work hard. However, we have never internalized that principle to help us now move it into a value. That is a principle, and it applies everywhere. However, we as Kenyans have become a nation of thieves minus opportunities. All of us are busy looking for opportunity to make wealth. It is even sadder when Christians call such things as blessings or breakthroughs. Haven't you heard them say, I got a breakthrough, and it's corruption? Can I tell you this? When you go there and become corrupt, even if you brought all the money, not just tithe, and brought it to the altar here, God cannot be bribed by you. You will not get the blessing. God blesses what He has given us.
Okay, so there you are basically just throwing it out to all of us and telling us this is what we've become. But this is after you've taken it to the leaders, you've taken it to everybody else, you've talked about the BBI, you've talked about... What is it that I was speaking about this earlier and wondering, so what happened that morning, Provost?
Or what happened that week leading to that morning? Or what has been happening in the previous weeks?
Who got under your skin that much?
Maybe you should be asking me what I've been smoking.
Yeah.
Because
No.
No. I've seen some people asking, what is the Provost smoking?
What have you been smoking? What's in the water?
No. Remember, it was not just last Sunday that
Sure.
I spoke about this, even the previous Sunday. Now, this year, what I would do as a provost is to reflect on a scripture that would guide the cathedral for the entire year. And after a lot of soul searching, the Lord led me to the story of Caleb in Joshua chapter 14. And verse 12, he says, give me this mountain. And it is an appropriation of the promise that God had made because of his faithfulness when they went to spy the land. And let me tell you, I never thought I would speak about leadership. Usually in January, I would maybe more of raise the spirits of the people so that they can start their year well, and especially after a bad year in 2020. Therefore, I had never planned. But I get home on a Friday, and I've not prepared my sermon, and I'm feeling I've been bothered the entire week by the things that are happening in this nation. And you see, preachers don't just get sermons from nowhere. What you do is to look at scripture, especially now what I was using as a theme of the year, but you need to theologize. Theology is not something we got to do. It is who we are. And so we theologize, we reflect, we apply scripture every day. And that's why we should never dichotomize who I am in church, who I am in my daily life. No, the theologizing is something that should happen not only to a preacher like me, but to you as well. Scripture should affect your reflection. It is a heart-mind kind of relationship. And so I called my deputy and I said, sorry, we are going to change the topics. And he said, it is Friday, Provost. I said, sorry, don't print any survey sheets. I'll give direction by morning. I don't want to say I got an SMS from heaven, but I can certainly tell you there was a heaviness in my heart that God had given me a responsibility. God has placed me in a place of influence. I have a big pulpit. If I don't speak, who else? And for me, I wasn't doing this on behalf of the church. No, it was purely a burden that I felt. So I started that day and I talked about the integrity of leadership. And that's where the whole problem, if it's a problem, began. Then last week, I again told the deputy, you know what? This was not a hit and run thing. We must sustain the message. And so we will be talking about the burden or the demands of leadership. Because leadership is not free. We cannot be casual about leadership. It comes at a cost. And we've seen that even with our Savior Jesus Christ, whom we emulate. And so you don't get into leadership to enjoy. You actually get into leadership to serve. And this coming Sunday, I'll be talking about the call to leadership. Let me say this. I had not prepared that sermon for the politicians. In fact, the challenge first was on the believers themselves. And that's why I'm telling them, if you go there and become corrupt, even if you brought the whole money at the altar, God is not honored. And so I'm telling even my own members, I'm not very happy when you bring a lot of money here. That's not what I'm asking you. I will not say you are good Christians because you brought, well, if you have earned it justly, bless the church. And that's how the religious institutions have survived. So I started applying it within the context of individual Christians, within family, within the community, and within the leadership of the nation. I think that is the context in which I came with a message.
So what is it that you have not a problem. Reflect on the leadership that we have in the country at present, not just at the national level, leadership in the society. That now brought you to this point where you felt there's something amiss.
Actually, I brought my sermon because I'm a man of stable mind.
Just for avoidance of any doubt.
Just in case
anybody thought you were off your rocker.
I was under some influence.
Do you have a certificate like that to show this?
Oh, yes. Well, my sermon is a certificate.
We have Dr. Frank Njanga.
No. He's a member of my congregation, and he can actually confirm this. And my third point in my sermon, I talked about maximizing our values. And the emphasis was, let's move from the principle. We all believe in principles, but now can we make them values? And values is not a dress you dress in the morning. It's actually part of your system. And as I was speaking this, I looked at Caleb and I said, he was a man of values. One, he had convictions. Not many Kenyans have the right convictions, because you can also have wrong convictions. I also talked about him being loyal, and his loyalty was first and foremost to God, then to the people that God has called him. And always there is this horizontal, vertical relationship that we must always have. What does God say? How do I relate with the people? Those are two axes that are very important as Christians. This man challenges me as a leader. What can I learn from him? And so I went now into looking at the problem in this country. Indeed, I want to repeat, we have become a nation of thieves. The only thing we lack is an opportunity. Kenyans are so busy looking for an opportunity. Let me give you a quick example. If a lorry overturned on this Mombasa road, looting will happen, certainly.
Yep.
All of us. You know what? I think we've seen our leaders loot so much that we say, no, we should also benefit.
Yep. Why not me?
Yeah, why not me? And so we've become actually a nation of thieves. The only thing we lack is an opportunity to steal. Now, then I quoted someone, and I think I didn't plagiarize. I said, Mr. President said. And I said, actually, thank you, Mr. President, for confessing. And if the president confesses such, hello, that is Mr. President. Believe him. It is true. He has details why all the government machineries around him tells him so. And I don't think that is the maximum. It's actually the minimum.
The 2 billion.
Now, when the president says 2 billion is lost every day, now do your mathematics quickly. In 1 year, in 3 years, we would maybe have paid China and remain with a railway line here. So it's actually an economic pilferage that should be challenged. But I also ask the president, if you confess that, what are you telling me? We voted for you. You are not our boss. Actually, you are our servant. You are our leader. And I think we have overrated our politicians. They have become our bosses. And that's why when they come to church, they want me, who is their servant, to give them a chance.
But you know what, Reverend, you know what normally has happened in the past is that leaders and politicians have come to church knowing that it was a safe haven, quote unquote, where they would be able to give an offering, and they've been then given a platform to be able to say whatever it is that they choose to. And more often than not, it's to come and find a place where people are desperate enough to listen and hear that message that they have to give on that day for the purpose of swapping their vote or their attention. With what you said over the weekend, this past weekend and the weekend before that, almost as if saying that, you know what, number one, the church is not the place where you'll be able to come and do this anymore.
No.
And number two, that we are now standing on record saying that we are throwing in our voice now and saying that it's about time people began to stand up. So are we relinquishing that position, not to say that it was openly accepted, but it would appear as though the church was a place where anybody would be able to come and say whatever they wanted to say by virtue of the fact that they've given an offering or they've given a contribution. Is that position now being relinquished? Number one. Number two, taking a firm position and truth, speaking truth to power and saying, stop this.
Let me tell you, that has never been a position. And let's correct this lie that politicians give churches money.
Don't they?
Who sustains churches? Ask me, I've been a clergy for the last 25 years. Which politicians has come to sustain us? Let me use the example of All Saints Cathedral. Let me tell you, it is the quiet that give the most. 2020, I used to doubt the commitment of the members of All Saints Cathedral. 2020, I was taught a lesson that actually I have loyal, diligent members of the cathedral. They don't need to shout about it, and they give and give generously. I think God is honored by that. And I think what I wanted to correct, it's not about the cathedral. I have no problem. Actually, by the way, I have a lot of politicians in the cathedral. In the cathedral, if I decided to recognize politicians, it will take entire service time. Why? There are so many. But look, every weekend, what are they doing? There are two places now they are going. And Sunday I'll talk about the second one. The first place is the church. Now, I have members who have been at All Saints Cathedral for the last 30 years or more, and they have never spoken in church. Because people don't come to talk in church. It is a place for the clergy to minister to the souls. That's why people drive on an early morning or wake up and go to their television or online to be ministered to. So who is this one guy who has the right to come, especially after my sermon, so people don't take home the message, they actually... So what I was telling my fellow clergy and church leaders is, this is wrong. Who has the right to come and speak there? That is your domain. That is your space. Stop. And if you have been doing this, this is wrong. And so I thought I needed to correct a bad impression that the church survives on politicians. By the way, and this one I can prove, most of them give bouncing checks.
To church?
Some have even given checks and later sent their assistants to go and collect, that Mheshimiwa will bring it in cash. Politicians have their agenda, and their agenda is to use every opportunity to sell that agenda and to loot this nation. And so what I was, actually it was like a riot call telling people this cannot continue. And next Sunday I'll talk more about funerals. How can I come to console with you and I come to politic?
Yep.
So why did I come? Don't come then. But you realize we have become sycophants of our politicians. And as I said earlier, they are not our bosses. How do you elect somebody? Within a couple of months, they are driving a big car. They now start owning a house or two. They start in 1 year changing their salary structure. So who is the boss of the other here? Then we start bending and saying, Mheshimiwa, look, and I know we've traveled, Kenya have traveled, countries like America and Europe. Do you know members of parliament even walk or use a bike? What is this in Africa? And actually, the man I quoted the previous Sunday was actually a Nigerian who is actually reflecting on Nigeria. And you realize it's a black man's problem. We idolize our politicians. Time has come for us to say, no, you are our servant.
Reverend, I want to ask this question. When you shared your thoughts with your fellow clergy, what was their response?
You see, mine was a public platform. And let me tell you, I have been beaten. I have been told all manner of things. I've been branded anti-BBI. I have been told. The first sermon which I did, in 25 minutes, there's so much you can do. And so on that first sermon, I chose to address the Hustler dynasty narrative, which is actually a very dangerous one. At the beginning, we used to talk about the dynasties, and you'd understand maybe it's about 5 families somewhere.
Yep.
But you see what? Today, if I want to attack you, the first thing is to brand you. And you see, the process of stigmatization, once you brand something...
But we call it profiling.
Profiling. If you brand this, you remove the humanity out of that person. It becomes an object you can attack and kill. Give the dog a bad name.
It is the same principle that has been followed in any situation where you've had genocide.
Exactly. Yes. And what I was seeing, if we don't speak now, the drums of war have started being beaten. And I realized as a clergyman with a senior position, I needed to say, stop, this is actually wrong. Now, to answer your question, what this has happened, from that one sermon or two, a national dialogue is coming up.
Absolutely.
We are now talking. Yesterday, I was asked on Citizen TV during the Prime News by Ombija, whether I've been called by those high offices. Can I say this? No one has called me. Members of the cathedral have been calling me and asking me, Provost, are you fine? I'm actually fine. I even drove myself here this morning. I haven't been called. Yesterday, most of the people who called me were believers who said, you've spoken on our behalf. They didn't send me, but what I spoke resonated with many, many people.
I was asked a question as well yesterday, even before I gave you a call yesterday. And the question is this an in-the-moment message? Or is this a message that is going to continue over time? Because you know what? Just the way people have told you yesterday, you've resonated with us. It's a message that people have been trying to put out there in their own small way. Now, is it something that will continue? And how can it be something that will be listened to if it doesn't keep coming out? Is it something that you will continue speaking about?
Let me commit myself here today. As long as I'm the Provost of All Saints, as long as I have a collar, to me, I'm called by God. And I'm called for a season. This is not the first time I've spoken. I am known to write even open letters to the president, which sometimes has cost me a lot of trouble, even from my own congregation who feel that I shouldn't attack the president.
Yeah.
By the way, the president doesn't belong to a few people. He belongs to all of us. And so to answer your question, yes, this is a message you'll hear and hear. Even next Sunday, be ready. I am reflecting on the message for next Sunday. It will never be easy. The provost desk as well is back. So apart from the speech, in fact, I'm asking whether you can give me a column for me to give you content. Because I'm a writer, I reflect, so I will consistently speak. And because the politicking has begun too early, we, the church leaders,
must reflect that.
Must start early. So it must be consistent pressure on the people.
Let's take a break.
And that one I will do.
We're taking a break at this point, having a conversation with the Reverend Canon Samuel Wainaina, the Provost of the All Saints Cathedral. He is saying, no, this is a conversation that we must reflect on what's happening in the country, and that is what he is doing. That's what he's done in the past 2 Sundays. He's done it before. He's even written about it. Very many questions and comments have come out of what you said on Sunday. Among them is, now the church wants to pretend that it's awake. Where has it been since the likes of Timothy Njoya and the others? Where has the church been? And we've even asked you this question many times before, but we have to keep asking this question now. Is it now? Is it a momentary issue like Ndu is asking? Time for us to take a break. We'll be back shortly on Spice FM, KTN Home, and online. This is the Situation Room.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. Spice FM.
It's getting hot in here.
Oh, everybody steals. It's better a thief who brings something small back. And I say to myself, there's no better thief. A thief is a thief, period.
All those bribes, how much they are getting per year, how much inconvenience they are causing, as much as you call it a small case, it's worth it to be convicted.
The truth is, we are a tribal nation. Because if we were not tribal, and I want to go back to this, you cannot continue walking around with a mug which is clean outside and it's rotten inside.
We have become a Fuliza country. We have mortgaged our country because of debt.
You've got one chef working and the assistant chef wakati anatakana koroge unga nini hayuko.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. The weather with Spice FM.
All right, so let's look in Nairobi this morning. Mostly cloudy conditions at 15 still, going to highs of 26 today. A chance of rain later on, but slightly so. It's mostly cloudy in Nyeri at 15, going to highs of 24 and lows of 9. The low will be 12 in Nakuru, 13 degrees and mostly cloudy at the moment, going to highs of 29. 25 will be the high in Eldoret. Sunny conditions currently at 14. It's mostly cloudy in Kisumu at 22, highs of 31 and lows of 19. It's also mostly cloudy in Kakamega at 17, highs of 33 and lows of 13. The low will be 24 in Mombasa, where it's mostly cloudy, and highs of 31. 31 will also be the high in Malindi. It's raining this morning at 27. It's mostly sunny in Kampala at 18, going to highs of 26. Dar es Salaam, light rain now. The heavens have opened up, highs of 32 and lows of 25. Cloudy conditions in Johannesburg at 17, highs of 21 and lows of 15. And it's still foggy in Lagos at 26, highs of 34 and lows of 24. It's also 24 and mostly cloudy in Kinshasa, highs of 34.
Chilled Spice.
Okay, so folks who are trying to get onto the eastern bypass, then connecting to the southern bypass are having some problems this morning. It's very slow because sections of that road have been closed off. Going from Kiambu Road towards Githokoro and then Runda Junction is an absolute mess this morning. Kiambu Road and trying to join Muthaiga Corner also quite crazy. Ngong Road is also joining the foray today. It's not moving at all. Traffic is not moving. It's bumper to bumper. Coming off Mombasa Road as well, this is what we are seeing, very, very slow. NYS also moving slowly on Thika Road. Pangani to town though, once you get to Pangani, that is not too bad. So there's heavy traffic jam in Nairobi. There's also Mombasa Road that's giving off these vibes this morning. So it looks like this one is going to need some patience all around, guys. Eventually we get where we're going, but try to keep safe. Talk to us on Spice FMKE on Twitter. Text on 40127.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM.
KTN Home on Spice FM online. In the room is Eric Latif, Nduoko, CT Muga, and Canon Sami Wainaina, the Provost of the All Saints Cathedral, who says it's about time that we have these conversations, just like we are looking towards, the political drums beaten and the tempo rising. We also must have that conversation and raise the conversation. So you've seen you've even talked about it. You've been called, you've been told, you have read what people have said about your message. Others say, you know what, the church lost the moral compass a long time ago. You have absolutely no platform to speak to us about issues. What do you say to those who say, look, is the church coming? Why now? Who are you to come and tell us? And yet you're the ones who have been accepting M-Pesa messages, M-Pesa and checks, and giving politicians this platform.
You see, I'm in trouble.
And now this is speaking, because when they see you, we see church. Right. Not just the All Saints Cathedral.
Well, I may not. Well, let me take all the blames for the church. You know what? Let me start from me, because it begins with me. I'm in trouble either way. You have to choose your war. Me have chosen only one. If I am obedient to God, I'm not fighting with God. If I'm disobedient to Him, I'm fighting with Him. And because I wouldn't fight with my Savior, my Maker, I have chosen to be obedient to Him. Let me accept all the blames that are on the church in terms of being quiet. I even saw a comment that we are bedfellows with the government, with the politicians. Maybe that is true. I think what happened after the Moi, during the Njoya's and Ukulu's time, the enemy was only one. I think after we pushed away the enemy, I think the church relaxed. Mm-hmm. And I think what the church wanted to use, instead of going combative, why don't we sit down and talk?
Handshake.
And let me tell you, even me, I've been called to many of those meetings, whether in State House but I would call them talk shops. And I have realized that they are very good with welcoming us and pacifying us as church leaders, that all is well. But after reflecting for some time, I said, let me take the bullet. Here I'm going to speak. Mm-hmm. And you know what? It's good to speak rather than to be quiet. Mm-hmm. One of the points that I've really pushed is the gospel of Jesus Christ is never neutral. That gospel of neutrality is actually not in the Bible. It belongs to the devil. The devil wants us, and the devil could be either a spirit or someone. He wants us to be neutral. And I was thinking last night about the neutral gear in my car. I rarely use it. Why? It doesn't make the car move. You have to engage the gear. And so to tell me to be neutral, many churches in Europe and in America are dying because of being neutral, not only on matters politics, but also on other matters like morality and sexuality.
Reverend, do you think that the condemnation that has been aimed at the church is justified?
I don't think so. It isn't, because there's so much that the church has done for this country. For example, the education sector. Some of the best schools, who started them? The missionaries. Who sustains them? The church. The alliances of our day and others are actually church schools. Look at the health sector. Churches have done well. The fact that there was a moment of silence, that doesn't make the church evil.
But you see, that is in the past, Reverend, and people talk about the present up until the time you decided to speak. How many other voices have we heard condemning? Because it isn't as though when you spoke, these ills became a reality. They have been there. Up until the time you spoke, who else have we heard? When you say the silence, it hasn't been for a short while. It has been for a long while. We in this studio have spoken about it over and over and over. And we have said the church has abrogated their role. They are supposed to be the conscience. They are supposed to be the voice of the oppressed. They have gone into bed with the oppressor, and the oppressed is now being oppressed even more. So the condemnation has followed because there has been the wait for the church to come in. There has been the wait for the church to speak out. The truth is the church has not spoken out.
Well,
maybe the word is as strongly.
No.
Right.
They have not spoken out.
Well, no, they have been speaking.
If they were speaking, would have heard.
No,
the church has been speaking. It's just that we are comparing Joya, direct speech, Gitari direct speech, and what we've been getting from the clergy now.
Eric,
and now, the reason why it's resonating with Wainaina is because it's direct.
Eric, the Bible, that is the handbook, the manual of operation for those who call themselves Christians, is very clear in the way these things are done.
Black and white.
Yes, it is not a pacifying message.
No.
It's a revolutionary message. It's
supposed to whip them.
It's supposed to change things. That's the whole point.
Muga, I want to agree with you. Sincerely, we have not reflected and applied the gospel to our situations, because these situations did not begin this year. It is true that the message of Jesus Christ is not a message to pacify. And look at him. The question actually every Christian should ask, if Jesus was here today, if Jesus was in Kenya at the moment, what would he do? He would be direct. And I think that is what has been missing. And I don't want to purport that I'm speaking on behalf of the church, but I have opened the debate and challenged my fellow clergy, please stand up to be counted. And you know what? We have the best example in our neighborhood. That is Rwanda. The church became part of the government, benefited from the government. During the killings, people ran to church for refuge. What happened? They were actually killed
in church.
And so if the church doesn't speak, when the country goes down, all of us will go down.
There was a study that was done and then likened how the church would then pick up its responsibility, and the parallels were drawn between what Moses did in the times of Pharaoh and in Egypt. And he was constantly in the palace. And the message was, until we know today, it rang so clearly, let my people go, let my people go, let my people go, unless this would happen. And it was likened to that Pharaoh, at some point when he heard that Moses was there, he almost wanted to go crazy. Until the point that the pressure became so strong that he actually just had to let the people go. That he saw him and the message was clear. Every time this is what Moses said. It never was, all right, give me something and then I will water down my message. All right, let me have this and maybe then I will not bring the message. It was constant. It was clear. This is what the message was. He never relented on it and pushed and pushed and pushed until Pharaoh let the people go. And I would liken that to the situation that we see in Kenya today, that the people are shackled to this leadership that is just not giving it what it needs in terms of its development, in terms of its integrity, in terms of its authenticity as leaders. Would you say that the message from the church has to be constant, has to be clear, not just one Sunday and then another one in June and another one in November, but that clear across sectors, whether it's in the education, whether it's in health, like you say, where the church is present, and yes, from the pulpit, that it has to be a constant, clear, deliberate message. If you can draw the parallels to Moses himself,
but no,
is it that is what needs to happen?
The church has provided a clear message consistently, and it has been in action. So you see, when you abrogate your moral duty, you know what you do? You leave a space. So that space has been occupied, the morality of our politicians. And we know how corrosive and negative it is. So if you're talking about messaging, it's not as though they were not messaging. When you're silent, you're sending a message.
I'm talking about this message. I'm talking about this one.
Well, when we preach a neutral gospel in the name of bringing everybody, you see, part of the lecture that I got last week from people.
You got a lecture?
Oh, I got many lectures. In fact, one of them was my own friend who was telling me, oh, the church should preach about peace and unity. And I asked him, could you download that a little? Tell me, what does that exactly mean? And you know, it's a nice way of telling the church, be quiet. And I think we've had that for a long time. It is like, don't differ. Don't judge. You see, the reason why I'm being attacked today is because I have taken some offense.
You made something somewhere uncomfortable.
I have said no to this. The dynasty hustler narrative is wrong. It has mutated badly and it can lead to a problem. I have said, stop the lie that BBI can solve all our problems. That is actually not true. I have actually said, you can have all the documents you want to make, but until we change our people's hearts. And you know, I have also made this clear, that politicians are our brothers and sisters. And we are not saying they shouldn't come to church, but they must have a moral code that guides them. But let me tell you, even if the church doesn't speak, I will speak. I know I was told they will do all manner of things. They will dirtify you to look evil and immoral or whatever they may want to do.
You've entered the political realm. Be prepared. When you rattle a snake, Canon,
it will bite. I have been bitten for the last 2 weeks. And I can tell you, I will consistently speak. Hold me accountable. By the end of this year, ask me, did you sustain the pressure?
The pressure.
Let me call on church leaders. Please join us in speaking. Don't pacify these people. You've seen some of the preachers are now crafting messages to suit the politicians that have come.
Yes.
No, the gospel of Jesus Christ is not neutral. It challenges our sinfulness. It challenges our evil as a society.
I'm going to play the clip of what you said about BBI and leadership and governance that presently is. And just before that, I think even when you're talking about has the church been quiet, has the church lost it, I think we're making a mistake of looking at church as one homogeneous unit. There are very many different preachers, very many individuals. I think that yes, there have been church leaders who have been consistent. For example, the Archbishop of the Anglican Church.
The Anglican Church.
We have interviewed him here. He's been speaking a certain language, which is no. He was the first one to call out and say, in fact, as the Anglican Church, we are not going to be allowing politicians to come up with mchango.
Even using our podium.
And using our podium.
Yeah,
The
I'm
Anglican Church has
actually,
spoken
I'm actually
about
riding on the Archbishop.
There you go. Yeah. The Catholic leadership, different, have spoken. Others have spoken. Now, then we have other preachers who are the ones who have welcomed the politicians, who are the ones who look at a politician and they craft the message to say, the anointed one, how shall you identify the anointed one? You shall see him when he sits at the front row of your church. there are those that have done that. Let's hear this clip of what the canon said on the BBI.
We have money for BBI, which will only benefit only a few people at the top, the kingpins. BBI will not solve your problems. They only want to benefit at the top so that they can share. We can have money for BBI, but we have no money to build schools that our children learn under the trees. Then the CS talks about it is good for oxygen. We don't lack oxygen even in classes. Why the lie? Let me remind Kenyans that when your tribal man becomes the president or takes the 5 top seats, as per the proposal of the BBI, you will remain poor. Ask those people, those tribes that have produced presidents, have they benefited from it? No, they're even poorer. Politicians have their agenda to eat and loot this country. What we need, we as Kenyans, are opportunities for employment, roads, networks, markets for our produce, quality healthcare, and quality education for every Kenyan.
We have with us the canon himself, Reverend Samuel Daina, is in the studio. Here you've gone straight and hit hard and directly at the politicians. And some of the political commentators, for example, I'm going to quote this tweet by Mutahi Ngunyi. Everybody knows Mutahi Ngunyi, political commentator and scientist. There are 2 tweets that were addressed to you. I'm not going to read the second one, which I feel is a bit more personal and it doesn't deserve this airtime. But this other one says, "Dear Reverend Samuel Daina, preach God. If you talk politics without God, and M-Pesa plus Prado, where is God? Hustler is the Sanamu God, the fake God to be worshipped by small brains."
Well, I don't want to address myself to Mutahi Ngunyi because I expected him as an academician to do better than that. So it's actually pathetic that Mutahi Ngunyi...
You've actually responded.
Sorry, I've already then said that. Let me address myself
broadly
to the sermon.
On when you're preaching like this, if you're talking politics, then you're veering away from God.
No, that is actually a lie of the devil. Direct from the devil. Politics is about governance over people. People agree on how they should be governed. That is politics. You have religion, which is about the moral and the ethics that guide. The two intersect. If you get a government or a governance without religion, then it's actually dangerous. We need religion to check on governance. If you get a very religious state, then it lacks on governance like what we have in Somalia. And now it's getting to Ethiopia. They are religious people, but they don't have controls. And that's why the two intersect very, very well. The Bible is actually a political book. And Mutahi Ngunyi actually should know that. Jesus spoke about politics. Look at the parables that Jesus gave. There are more parables that he gave about the kingdom of God on earth than the kingdom of God in heaven. The gospel of Jesus Christ is not there it's not a vehicle that takes people to heaven. It's actually a gospel that addresses our challenges right here. Ultimately, we go to heaven, but we have a lot of work to do. If God wanted to take you to heaven, why would he let you, Muga, get to this age? He should have taken you even quicker and earlier. Why the struggle?
Actually, or why even create me as a human being? Why not just make me one of those beings that dwell in heaven?
Yes, as angels. Why does God, in his wisdom, bring us to this earth? And so to tell me not to preach about politics is to tell me not to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ.
So do you believe that then the church has a direct role when it comes to advocating for citizens to choose their leaders in the right way, for example, to speak out about things that would be injustices? Do you think that the church has a definite role to play in this?
If politics must be checked by the morality of the nation, which is a biblical or religious teaching, then we have actually a role. The only thing I'll tell people, I'll not tell you to vote for so-and-so. But what I will do, I will engage in a discourse with you. I'll give you my view, you'll give me yours. Other views will come in. We'll also look at the scripture. And that way, and that is the discussion. You see, one of the things that I don't like about Kenya, we shout at each other. After this sermon, people should have sat down. They should have asked, what is the provost saying? Don't try to throw mud at me or saying now I'm preaching Prado and politics and God is at the center of our politics.
Provost, what did you actually expect when you delivered this message?
Well, let me tell you, I don't preach to be popular. And let me again quote myself. I said yesterday, the gospel never makes us popular. It makes us relevant. I was seeking relevance. And Kenyans don't like relevance.
Actually, if you preach the gospel as you say you do, the gospel by its very nature, as I said, is revolutionary.
It is.
It will tell you things you may not particularly want to hear.
Yeah.
It will point to things you'd rather not talk about or point to. Yeah. If you look at the history of people who are straight-talking prophets, they had difficult lives.
Oh, yes.
Because they were offensive.
Yeah, of course.
They offended the status quo.
Yeah.
Some paid for it with their lives.
Yeah.
But they didn't have an easy time.
No, they didn't.
Simply because they said, excuse me, this is wrong. You shouldn't do this. And because you're doing this is what's going to happen to you. Now, that is the message that I personally, maybe it's utopian, but I had anticipated that people, men and women of the cloth or religious leaders would have come out from day one. It happened, you say, folks,
this is wrong.
This is wrong.
Or we stand with that.
Yes, folks, this is wrong.
Yeah.
And you say why it is wrong. You see, when there is an absence of leadership, and that is what it amounted to within the church, then how then do you blame your congregation? Yes, I'm aware that people make individual choices, but they depend on the leaders to provide that moral direction.
Exactly. You're actually spot on. People have told me you will pay the cost of this. And I'm not surprised because it's scriptural, number one. Number two, those who have been ahead of us did the same. During the times of Moi, people like Muge, the Njoyas, the Okulus, they were devils that were disturbing the status quo. Today, they are saints. I don't seek to be a saint, but let me tell you, I will continue to speak and write about this. And what I have realized, the society is actually split down the middle. There are people who don't want to hear their president mentioned. And let me tell you, I have come to know, because I'm a Wainaina, people expect me not to talk about the president. By the way, president is not a Kikuyu. He's the president of this nation. He's there to serve all of us, just like I hold a public office that doesn't serve Kikuyus. It serves the people of the cathedral. Therefore, when I challenge the president, I'm only challenging the presidency. And I'm telling him, don't just give us information. Tell us, what are you doing after that? And this is what I said, Eric. And you see, the way BBI was muted is actually wrong. It's about two people. It's actually a political document. And even when it came out, we were told the only person who can change an I or a T are the principals. Oh, so whose document is it?
The people's.
Surely it should have come to the people. Yeah. So it's actually a political document. Look, the taxpayer, who is you and me, we sacrifice so much, but it benefits only a few people at the top. Now, you want to widen the executive, you want to give actually president more power when we should actually be reducing.
Reducing the power.
Merkel has just left Germany after 18 years of good service, a humble lady who has served the nation. We actually need to reduce the powers of a president and give more power to the counties. It is actually good, and I have said this, the BBI has good, but it has bad, which can be improved to become good through a discussion, and as an objective discussion, but it has an ugly. It has also ugly. So you can't tell me to swallow the entire thing because it has some
good thing will go and benefit you,
or some small poison which will not kill.
Will only kill you.
Let me tell you this. Actually, if you look at the United States, where we have borrowed most of our constitution from, where have they empowered? They have empowered the states. They are independent yet interdependent. And the governors are not politicians. They are managers. They develop policies and systems for accountability and giving their people best services. But look at Kenya. We devolved even corruption itself with our devolved governments. We need to hold them accountable. And these bodies, constitutional bodies like EACC, the DPP, then NIS, they are not there to serve the president. They are there to serve this nation. And I'm calling on the strengthening of our institutions rather than empowering somebody at the top. After Uhuru Kenyatta, whoever comes and comes with the current constitution together with BBI, Kenya will be a worse nation than it is today.
Strong words said there. As we come to the conclusion, one of the things that you notice about your sermon and the reaction, how many people have called you and told you, why are you saying that we are thieves and we are not? People are calling you, I bet, to tell you about the politics that you raised, the BBI, the attack on the leadership, the attack on the president. But the message that is today, to everybody, to all of us, on what we need to do to have our morals in check and our moral values in check, that is lost.
Actually, nobody has asked me about me calling people thieves.
Because they know it's
true. They know they are thieves.
They know it's true.
And when the pastor tells you are a thief, I'm only telling you what I know.
And what you know too.
That you look for opportunities to loot. And I said last Sunday, it is actually sad when Christians call corruption breakthroughs and blessings. Because I hear them, I ask them, how did you buy that car? And they say, I got a breakthrough. And you know what is a breakthrough? It's actually a tender they got through bribing, and they now want to show. And I have asked, and this is where the moral question comes in. Do you, as parents in the rural areas, ever ask your children where they get their wealth? Most of us don't. And that was actually the gist of my message. We must have a value-laden society. Otherwise, whether you have whichever document, whether you call it BBI or otherwise, it will not change this nation. Nobody has accused me that I called anyone a thief. And I want to repeat, we are all thieves. The only thing we lack is an opportunity for us to loot. And it actually now corruption, stealing is becoming a virtue in Kenya.
Reverend Canon Samuel Wainaina, the Provost of the All Saints Cathedral of the Anglican Church of Kenya, thank you very much for coming and joining us. And yes, this is a platform that likes such conversations, and that's why we were like, let him come repeat those words right here so that we can have a conversation as a country. If we don't talk, then we will fight. So we must keep talking, and we must keep having those strong conversations like that. We are thieves. We are looking for opportunities. We lack opportunities. Reverend, have a good day. And see you again soon. And yes, we will hold you to account. Every quarter we'll be asking you, so how much have you received to tone down your message?
But let me also tell you,
right?
I may be a lone voice and I'll continue to speak, but let every Kenyan speak. This is not a war I can win alone. I urge on every Kenyan, don't steal, don't be thieves. Be people that are guided by Christian or religious ethics and values. Let us hold our politicians in check. I want to appeal to church leaders. Do not allow politicking in church. preach the gospel, let people go home. If they want to meet in halls, they can do that. And clergy, you can join in the discussion because politics is part of your life, but we cannot allow the adulteration of the altar.
Absolutely.
Asante sana. Wise words, well said. Thank you very much, Provost, and have a good day.
Good day. Thank you.
Keep it right here. The conversation continues in the next hour. We'll have Agri-Talk, which will be looking at the youth opportunities in agribusiness. This is Kenya's biggest conversation on Spice FM, on KTN Home, online at www.spicefm.co.ke, and Spice FM KE on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Twitter. Okay? So in the next hour, we have another guest who is the Chief Administrative Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture, and we look at the opportunities for the youth in business, agribusiness. Good morning. It's now 8 o'clock.
Spice up your life. Traffic.
So I've seen a picture of Kiambu Road, and folks are asking the NMS to come and collect parking fees on Kiambu Road because vehicles are not moving at all. Trying to connect with Thika Road is an absolute mess. That's not working. Mombasa Road is also moving extremely slowly this morning. Thika Road also, as you get to the tunnel, that also is looking pretty bad. It's a mess, guys. Everywhere you look, unfortunately, traffic is stagnant. Coming off Mombasa Road, right around the SGR until General Motors, that also is not moving. Uhuru Highway, right around the Nyeri Stadium roundabout, joining from Langata Road, going into the CBD and then going on towards Westlands. Okay, so what you can use without too much of an issue is the Eastern Bypass, the Southern Bypass, Red Hill Bypass coming out of Westlands. You should be able to be fine using those options. So, shall we see what it looks like in about half hour? Let us know if you find a better route. Ngong Road also is a mess, guys. If you're going in that direction, it's going to slow you down just a little bit. We'll be out of traffic hours soon, I hope. We'll just have to wait and see. Talk to us, however. Spice FM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation
2.5
Room.
minutes after
the
8,
only
this is
way
Kenya's
to
biggest
start your
conversation.
day.
It's The Situation Room on KTN Home, online and on radio. We begin the hour every day with the day's proverb.
The opportunity was yesterday, wasn't it? Okay, today it isn't the opportunity.
No.
Not everyone who chases a zebra caught it, but he who caught it chased it.
Not everyone who chases the zebra
caught it.
But he who caught it chased it. Why are they chasing zebras? Why not guys?
Well, if you had to catch it, how on earth are you going to invite
Why
to
are
come
you
and sit
carrying
with
a
you so that you
zebra?
can
Why are
catch
you
it?
catching a zebra for what? Who eats zebra?
Oh, zebra. Who eats zebra? Okay, why don't we respond in kind and ask who eats crocodile?
Who doesn't eat zebra?
Who doesn't eat zebra might be the question. Some of the stories that we saw previously.
That's what we should ask.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's shift gears in our conversation. And this time we're going to have Agri-Talk. Remember, Agri-Talk is where we promote meaningful discourse on agriculture, food security, and agribusiness. And for the next 50 or so minutes, we'll have a conversation about this and looking at how youth can take part and take advantage of all the opportunities that are there in agribusiness. Joining us now in the studio is the Chief Administrative Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture. Now, it's long. There's agriculture, there's livestock, there's
Fisheries.
So, Madam Ann is the CAS, and we'll just ask her to tell us. Ann Nyaga, CAS, Ministry of?
Agriculture.
That's it.
Agriculture, livestock, fisheries, and cooperatives.
There you go. Agriculture, livestock, fisheries, and cooperatives.
There's no wildlife to it?
No, wildlife in tourism.
That's tourism. Yeah.
Now we have tourism and wildlife.
That's where the zebras.
That's where the zebras are. Yeah. So in fact, can you imagine if it was the minister in charge of wildlife who was here and he was talking about catching zebras?
You'd be in a spot of trouble there.
You'd have had a conversation.
I think the discussion is who has sent me.
Yes, you'd have had a conversation and like, hey, CT, what is it that you're promoting? So, youth economic empowerment through agribusiness. But first, just tell us about what you've been doing since you got into this office as CAS in the Ministry of Agriculture. I'm sure, because we're going to talk about youth, first lay the ground on what you've done with the youth in this field.
Thank you so much, Latif. It's a pleasure being here this morning. First and foremost, I wouldn't be in this office if I was not given an opportunity, and therefore I must really thank His Excellency the President for giving us an opportunity to, be involved in policy discussions and in a position where we are actually able to execute various interventions as we may deem fit as the young people of this country, and not only serving other young people, but also serving the larger population at large. So really, I must say that it's a great privilege for me and my other 5 colleagues that were actually appointed last year in January by His Excellency the President. And I must say that His Excellency the President is actually a champion for the youth just by giving us an opportunity to be able to serve. Before I came into the national government, I was working as the county minister for agriculture in Embu County. And when I was given the opportunity, of course, it was a platform for me to be able to amplify what I was doing at a county level and be able to scale it up on a national level. And when I'm serving as mandated by the Constitution, I was not only carrying upon day-to-day activities only in relation to the ministry's mandate, but also I took a keen interest to see exactly how we can bring to life the Kenya Youth in Agribusiness strategy, because we developed that strategy, of course, in collaboration with the national government. Then, when we were out in the private practice, but being in a space where we are able to see into it that we execute these particular strategies, I've been a bit keen to see to it that the strategies are actually implemented. So some of these programs that we have designed, and I'll name them as we proceed, I've been given an opportunity where I'm able to, design programs, of course, in collaboration with other technical teams within the ministries to be able to assist the youth to be able to have a meaningful and effective engagement in the agriculture sector. So it's just an opportunity to amplify even as we serve in other day-to-day activities as mandated.
Very many people, including the youth, will be hearing this for the first time, that there is a youth in agribusiness strategy by the government. How many years is it, and what does it entail?
Okay. The Kenya Youth in Agribusiness strategy, we developed it in 2018. It's a 4-year document. And we developed it in consultation with all the 47 counties. We went around the country, trying to figure out and consulting youth the various challenges that they felt were hindering them from actively participating in the agriculture sector. So in short, the strategy was developed to be able to address the challenges that the youth themselves said they were facing them and they were hindering them from actively participating in the sector. The Youth in Agribusiness strategy actually highlights 11 key strategic issues that were very prominent even as we went around the country. Issues of negative perception towards agriculture came up, issues of lack of affordable financing, issues of inadequate skills, knowledge and information, issues of lack of markets, value addition, cross-cutting issues of climate change, and so forth. So all these issues, they are common across board. I've just named them. I've just named a few. So the youth said, these are the challenges that we feel. If you developed programs that are responsive to this, we would be then able to engage in the agricultural sector in a way that is meaningful. And of course, as guided by His Excellency the President through the directives that he gave, we developed programs that were actually responsive to some of these challenges and also to the directives. You'll find that under the Ministry of Agriculture, we have about over 15 programs, of course, cutting across the State Department for Crop Development, Livestock, Fisheries as well. And I'll just pick a few and amplify them. There's a program that we call Enable Youth. And this program addresses two key strategic issues as highlighted by the youth. It deals with the issue of incubation, mentorship, and nurturing, because the youth say they didn't have the skills. And also it tackles the youth of the issue of affordable financing. And just to debunk it a bit, Enable Youth, we did a call for proposals last year in November. And we shortlisted 900 youth. The first cycle, we were targeting 520 youth. And we want to take these youth through an incubation process so that they can be able to develop enterprises along the agricultural value chain, be it in fisheries, be it in livestock, be it in crop development. We want them to think as broadly as they can. And, just being able to help them develop enterprises along the value chain. And once we take them through incubation, because the first cycle of incubation will be taking part in March this year, we've already shortlisted 900 of them, and in 2 weeks' time we'll be going through the interviews for shortlisting, and through this particular incubation center, we have what we call the accelerators and also the standard. Accelerators are those youth who are already in the agricultural value chain, but we just want to put in some bit of investment in terms of knowledge, and then they can be able to accelerate. And then we also have not only incubation, but we also have within the same program a financing model where we've set aside 500 million to give at 0% interest rate. We also have 900 million to give at 5%. And also we've set aside an 800 million fund for risk, as a risk guarantee fund to make commercially available 5 billion for the youth in agriculture to be able to access. So that is one of the interventions that we've done in terms of us being able to, get the youth involved. And the target for this particular program is the youth who are already diploma holders and degree holders. Again, in the spirit of leaving no one behind, we've also developed programs, the likes of KSAP and NARIC. These ones are running concurrently in 45 counties. NARIC is in 21 counties, KSAP is in 24 counties. Of course, all of them address the issue of production and productivity with a component of building resilience. And by designing these programs, as much as we are targeting the general farmer, we have a policy such that we have mainstreamed the issue of youth address in all the particular programs that we're implementing within the ministry. So this one targets youth who may not have had the privilege of going to campus or colleges, who are not diploma holders. These ones we are addressing youth or giving them grants and also capacity in terms of the group perspective. So we have a whole range of programs that are addressing if it's capacity, if it's financing, if it's the issue of building infrastructure. So we have a whole range of programs which are addressing.
Okay. Now, I'm going to ask you 3 questions. One, what criteria did you use to choose the 900?
Okay. We did an eligibility criteria where we listed, you have to have a degree or a diploma. Then, of course, we set aside, you need to also have been cleared from the HELB board loan. You need to have had an interest in the agricultural value chain. So you needed to demonstrate all those traits before you made an application and be shortlisted. Did you
list the sort of things that they must exhibit?
Yes, it was already drawn clearly in the criteria.
And how widely spread was this message?
Actually, the target, because the national government under the Ministry of Agriculture, we are the implementing agent. we are targeting youth from across the country because it's a nationwide
Yes, but
program.
what method have you used to ensure that the youth all over the country have actually heard and understood what it is that you're doing?
Yeah, we did a sensitization, of course, through the county governments. And normally what we do when we have a new program is we call the county government through the ministers, what we call the CECs, those are the county ministers. We do a sensitization. We also do the sensitization at the sub-county level and also the ward level, such that this messaging is translated all the way to the grassroots, so that the youth can be able to know there's a program which we're already calling a call for proposal and for them to be able to make application. Again, we also did float the call for proposals through the digital platforms where we shared across all the counties, because we have a caucus, a CEC caucus, where we interlink between the ministry and the county governments through COG.
Does the national government have a system by which they can audit the performances of the counties, specifically the agricultural department in the counties, to ensure that the things that you have agreed on are actually carried out?
Most of our programs are not entirely the Enable Youth one, because we are the ones who are actually implementing it directly. But the likes of KSAP, the KSAPs and the NARI, where we actually disperse the finances to the counties. Of course, having built the capacity of the counties and also not only the coordinating units within the counties, but also at the sub-county level, the officers, and also at the ward level. We have within our program design, even as we do the implementation, we have what we call the project coordination and management unit within all our programs. And monitoring and evaluation is one of the key things that we actually check when we are continuously implementing the program, to see the uptake, to see the gaps. So monitoring and evaluation is a continuous process where we keep on evaluating as we go, as we implement. And then also, if there are gaps, we build the capacity of the counties, and we also guide them on where they need to also make an improvement.
Is there direct government involvement in the institutions that train the youth in agricultural matters?
Yes, like now with Enable Youth, for instance, we've shortlisted 8 incubation centers across the country. And these incubation centers, of course, they're spread across the country. We have some in Kilifi, we have one in Kilifi, Kisumu, Trans Nzoia, Narok, Kirinyaga, Nyeri, and so forth. And these ones are already government institutions. That was one of the criteria for choosing the incubation centers, because we also wanted to leverage on the government infrastructure to be able to incubate the youth. Yeah.
So we are looking at agriculture as a lucrative venture in this country. You talked about negative perceptions of agriculture in Kenya, especially by young people who would have gone to school, gone to get a diploma, gone to university, and then hopefully gotten a job. So are you trying? Is the skew then towards, look, you can actually go into this sector and do the same thing, if not better, than what you would do sitting at a desk job? Is that what we're trying to get youth to think?
Actually, what we are doing right now as we speak, we are in the process of reviving and bringing back the 4K clubs, because it's our strong belief that we have to introduce our children to agriculture at a very young age, so that it becomes like a culture. Some of us, we're in the agricultural field because we were introduced to the 4K clubs when we were young, and I believe all of you as old as me to have gone through, I don't know whether you're beneficiary of the 4K clubs. Yeah, I don't know.
All of us are as old as you.
Yeah. So these clubs...
Why is this? There's a certain chorus. Am I being promoted to the level of the?
No, it's just to make sure that you're not being left out.
Okay, I feel included. Please continue. Yes.
Yeah. So why we must bring them back, and they died back in the 90s, and it's our deliberate effort, even as we speak, to bring them back. Already, work is in progress to be able to rebrand and revive the 4K clubs across the country. And why it's important is, we have to catch our children young, especially because Kenya is an agricultural nation. We are an agricultural economy. And we have to introduce children, to agriculture in a way that they are able to understand it. And the nature of the clubs and what makes it different from what we used to do back then, we had focused a lot back when we were growing up you had focused a lot on the production aspect, the bit of it. But right now, our major focus is on the positive youth development model, where you're using the 4K clubs. And you want to not only teach a kid to do production, but also you want to bring up a holistic being. A child who has character, who has confidence, can be able to communicate, a child who's caring, who's compassionate, a child who is able to, have those critical values that we feel, society, with time we have been losing those critical values.
Yep.
So we not only want to revive and rebrand them from an agricultural perspective of production alone, but we also want to have, a holistic child who's such that they may not even end up in the agricultural field per se when they grow up, but they can find themselves in the health sector, for instance. And in the health sector, they'll always be guided by the principles of being compassionate, which we want to teach through these clubs, such that their major focus would be, I have an opportunity or I have a mandate to save human life, even as I have to get money from the activity. So we want to use agriculture as the vehicle to still drive back the values that we feel we might have lost along the way.
Very passionate about this 4K. There are very many also who don't know what this 4K club is. There are 4Ks.
Yes.
What are those 4Ks?
The 4Ks were kuungana, kufanya, kusaidia Kenya. And we've been very deliberate, even as we are working on the revival. We want to still keep the same principles because they translate to who we are as a nation. And to be very honest, I am who I am because of those clubs. They made me the person that I am today.
Okay.
And that's why it's important to, give back. Even when our president gave us an opportunity to serve, he asked us that we think broadly. What can you do for country? And that's why some of these things, we have to do them when we have the opportunity.
So this is your Kusaidia Kenya moment and bit and working together with others. When you say you bring back the 4K club and give them the prominence, you are in the Ministry of Agriculture. You're talking about school, that's education. So is it going to be rolled out by the Ministry of Agriculture or by the Ministry of Education?
It's going
Bringing
to be...
it back, is it like part of curriculum?
Okay. We have a one government approach such that we collaborate between ministries. And of course, the schools are domiciled under the Ministry of Education. Then the Agricultural Ministry is also mandated with the know-how and the expertise on how to help the schools set them back. So it's a collaborative effort between the two ministries and also the other key stakeholders that are there, because we also want to have the same clubs back in the communities as well. So it's going to be a collaborative effort where we still have access to the schools as facilitated by the Ministry of Education. Again, the school patrons are also supposed to come from the schools. So the Ministry of Agriculture has to work very closely with the Ministry of Education for it to be successful and also sustainable.
If we look at some of the challenges that young people, you yourself have said it now, one of the main ones is this access to financing. But you've also talked about the options that are available in terms of financing for people to come about and do their business. Now, looking at the communication in letting people know what is available. I'm almost sure that if you did a survey now and told people, well, the Ministry of Agriculture is offering this, there are very few people who would know about it in terms of, all right, so maybe this is something that I want to venture into. And not just the financing, but also the training that's available. Many more people would like to have access to the incubation that you're talking about that's about to roll out in a short time. How then are you making sure that far and wide, as far-reaching as possible, rural, not just urban Kenya, rural Kenya, to get to really know about what's going on? Because I see it as a fantastic opportunity to really give the chance to people to enter into business. And also you're looking at agricultural profile that could be significantly raised in this country. In communicating this and letting people know what exactly is available, how robust is that approach?
You're right. One of the reasons as to why people don't, make application for some of these programs is because of the information trickle down. And because we have agriculture as a devolved function where we've already set up structures even at the ward level. The minute we communicate through the structures that be through the offices of the CECs at the county level, we capacity build them, and we introduce the program to them, how it is designed, how we intend to roll it out. Then the same instruction also is also given through the sub-county offices, and then also at the ward level. So should any youth, because we've also been doing a lot of publicity on these particular programs, such that if any youth at the grassroots level may want to know about this program, if they go to the ward agricultural office and ask about this program, say Enable Youth, or any other program, be it KSAP, CRAL, be it CVAP, be it a KSAP or Nyeri, they are able to get the information because we've already built the capacity of the county government staff that is in touch with the...
So it's a guarantee that you walk into any office at ward level as a young person today,
yes,
and say that you want to find out how you can take the steps to get into this program, how you can take steps to access financing and things like this for business or your agricultural project, that you would leave that office with all the information that you needed, essentially ready to start.
Yeah, you would. And even by structure, like for the two programs, allow me to mention two programs that actually have a grant component where we're not only targeting youth and women, but also the senior in age in terms of the farming community. We've spent the last, because we started this program, the two specific one, NARIG and KSAP, we started implementing them in 2017. And what we have been doing is thoroughly building the capacity of the county government staff and also the farmers themselves, such that we'll ask a farmer, how does the KSAP program, how is it implemented? And the farmer will be able to tell you in detail, because we've even been taking them through proposal writing. And then also we've been giving them finances. Once we disperse the funding, we do it through the county government. And then the county governments then are supposed to onward the financing to the farmers themselves in their own bank accounts. So we've been doing a two-way approach of building the county government staff, the capacity, and also sensitizing them on various programs and projects that are there. But also, again, we've also been holding barazas with the farmers, where we also sensitize the national government structures. Like now, if you go to the county level, we have the county commissioner. He's very well aware of the kind of programs that are running. So when we have barazas, we also sensitize on these programs. So if you go at the grassroots level, you'll hear farmers know if there's DSP2, if there's KSAP, farmers already have this particular knowledge, even at the ward level.
They've got all the information.
They had the information.
Let's take a break at this point. We're having a conversation, Agri-Talk in the Situation Room. Today, youth economic empowerment through agribusiness. Our guest in the studio this morning is Ann Nyaga. She is the Chief Administrative Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture, Livestock, Fisheries and Cooperatives, looking at what can be done to empower the youth and take advantage in agribusiness. The good thing about having Ann Nyaga in the studio is that she has worked in the agriculture business, in the agriculture sector for a while, from both levels of government, county government level and now at the national level. And so let's take advantage of this and hear more from her. After we come back, 27 minutes after 8, we are live on KTN Home, on Spice FM and online. We will be back shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
Have you seen them? Am I lying?
Yes, it's a very nice outfit, I must say. Good job.
You.
Asante sana.
The compliment is well received.
Good morning and thank you. Everyone was asking me what channel is Spice FM.
96.7. Tell them that, right?
Yes, now they know.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Pleasure to have you.
What a beautiful studio, my friend.
I've been to other radio stations, but I've never seen anything like this.
Thank you, and it's very nice to be in a modern studio. Absolutely brilliant.
And I have to say, it's a very cool ambiance here in your radio room. Just for our listeners, I think it is below zero in this room here. Very Swiss temperatures.
All right, this morning in Nairobi,
the weather with
partly cloudy conditions. The sun is peeking through those clouds, however. We'll see highs of 26 and lows of 15. Mostly cloudy conditions in Nyeri at 17, highs of 24 and lows of 9 today. The low will be 12 in Nakuru at 17, mostly cloudy at the moment. It's 8 degrees in Eldoret, a bit chilly. Highs of 25 today, however, coming back down to lows of 11. Kisumu Mostly cloudy conditions at 23. Highs of 31 and lows of 19. Kakamega, mostly cloudy at 20. Highs of 33 and lows of 13. It's partly sunny in Mombasa at 26. Highs of 31 and lows of 24. Now Malindi in turn is experiencing light rain this morning. We'll see highs of 31 and lows of 25. It's cloudy in Kampala at 18 degrees. Highs of 26 today. Dar es Salaam experiencing light rain as well at 25. Highs of 32. It's cloudy in Johannesburg at 17. Highs of 21 and lows of 15. It's still foggy in Lagos at 24, highs of 34. Highs of 34 also in Kinshasa, where it's mostly cloudy at 24.
Are you ready? Okay.
Spice FM. Traffic.
Kiambu Road this morning needs grace and patience. Everybody needs to take it easy today because it's not moving. Bumper to bumper situation. Also on Gong Road this morning, if you can avoid it, please do so. Take you roundabouts and not having to get onto Gong Road if you can avoid it to get into the CBD. You might want to use the inner roads if you have to. Coming off Thika Road into the CBD as well, slow. There's massive overlapping that's going on Juja Road today, so it's making traffic even worse. So still in the middle of traffic hour, guys. Mombasa Road, different pockets of Mombasa Road, all the way through then to the Nyeri Stadium roundabouts. You can use Aerodrome Road a little bit faster into the CBD, but then from Uhuru Highway through to Westlands, it's moving very slowly right now. Let's see what it looks like in a short while. But for now, you get into anything that we should know about, any accidents or incidents, let us know. Spice of MKE on Twitter. Text us as well on 4022127.
Spice and everything nice. All right. Spice FM.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
8:30, the conversation continues. In the room, we have Eric Latif, CT Muga Nduoko, and our guest this hour is Anyaga, the CAS in the Ministry of Agriculture, Livestock, Fisheries and Cooperatives, talking about youth economic empowerment through agribusiness. This is AgriTalk in the Situation Room, where we promote conversations and discourse on agriculture, food security and agribusiness. And was the CEC in charge of agriculture in Embu County for a number of years. And therefore you took advantage, you got to understand what counties are doing in terms of agriculture. Agriculture being a devolved function, a lot of the bulk of the work should be handled by the counties. Listening to the policy that has been developed at the national level, but also the implementation of this policy by the national government. Forgive me for asking this question. Why is the national government interfering with functions that should have been devolved wholly to the county governments?
Thank you, Latif. Actually, the national government is not interfering. What we do is we work very closely. We work in collaboration at the levels of the two governments. We have, in terms of the programs that we have designed, you'll find that some programs entirely, depending also on the partners that we have when we are getting into the design of these particular programs. You'll find that by design there are those programs which for purposes of the implementation, the agreement between the national government and also the development partners and also the county governments is some programs are to be implemented at the national government level, and some, actually most of them, we actually devolve the financing. It is only that, the design of the program is different. It varies from program to program. But you'll find that most of our budgets, like say for the programs where we devolve the functions, we also devolve the finances. And you'll find that some programs, actually even for the entire budget, like for the KSAP and NARIC, for instance, we have devolved 80% of the budget. such that everything is done at the county level. So what we just do, we are left with a 20% budget component that is just meant for project coordination and project management. So we do not really have an interference. What we have is more of a collaborative and consultative process. But most of the work is done at the county level. Though we also have a responsibility at the national government to also keep on building the capacity of the county governments and also building the policy. And by the time we're also developing certain policy or certain strategies, we do not develop them in silo. We develop them in consultation. There's a lot of public participation even at the farmer level, at the county level in terms of the ministers and the involvement of the chief officers, even the COG at large. So by the time any policy is coming to be or any strategy is coming to be, it is already owned by everyone. Yeah.
There's a generation that probably did not grow up seeing agriculture as the so-called the backbone of the economy of this country. I grew up in such an era. Now, our agriculture in many ways is stratified. What do I mean by stratified? You find certain crops grow in certain areas, certain crops are grown in certain areas. Now, when you say you have these policies, is it target specific to the sort of crops that, or cash crops that are grown in certain areas, or is it also introducing the possibility of crops that were previously grown in other areas now being grown in areas that previously they had not been grown?
We have developed what we are calling suitability maps. Suitability maps is developed under one of our programs that is called ASDSP2, that is Agriculture Support and Development Program, which is actually implemented in 47 counties. And one of the key things that the suitability maps did was to map out certain areas such that one county will be known to be more productive in certain crops. So we would map 3 value chains that would then advise. In terms of the practicability, we would then advise that you plant these crops as opposed to these ones. So we've already done the suitability maps. We've also built the capacity of the county government staff for them to be able to understand the kind of ecological settings and the kind of choices that they need to be making in terms of the crops that they plant.
But even as you say this, when you look at the work that is done by the institute that deals with research in agriculture, I am certain that one of the things they do is they develop crops that ordinarily or traditionally would not be able to grow in one part of the country. But because of science, they are now, okay, carry on. I think you know where I'm going with this.
I think what we have also is a culture problem, such that farmers are compelled, I must really plant this, whether it's doing good or it's doing bad. And that is where, as the ministry, the issue of, the research that we have been able to conduct over time, then we also have a responsibility to sensitize the populations, don't do this, instead do this, which is scientifically proven. Of course, it has to take a lot of effort because also changing the mindset and also the cultural practices is not something you do overnight. But those efforts are there, and also we've taken note of, farmers, you'll find some are already planting a certain maize variety that does not do well, but because of practice, they are too used to planting it. So continuous sensitization, continuous education is what we continue to do so that they can be able to change those cultures.
If you were to have a look on Kenya from above, and in terms of the implementation of these projects and the uptake of a lot of these things, where would you say you had the highest activity? And then from that, where would you hope that more and more would join this?
In terms of the highest activity, I would say initially for the first 2 years, especially when we were implementing and some of these programs, we had a little bit of stall because it's a new program that you want to introduce. You have to build the capacity. Different people understand at different times. So it takes time for some counties to understand as opposed to others. So that process of capacity building, the uptake, even at the farmer level, really stored some of these programs and the implementation. Also, at the farmer level, you'll find that there are those farmers who are faster, and also in terms of commitment. Remember, we would be calling farmers to come for a 2-hour meeting. We already organize them in group setups, especially where we were building their capacity. So there are those farmers who are busy with other chores, they may not be able to come to the group setting. So some of these factors delayed the kind of implementation process. But since 2019, thereabout, we started releasing the finances to the farmers because also they had reached a certain level of competency. So we would then, as the indicators within the programs, then we were okayed to be able to release the finances. And when the farmers release their first tranches of the finances, then you see a lot of motivation. They are hopeful. They are geared towards, receiving the second tranche. So by design and automatically they start uptaking. They are more committed to the cause. So by and by, we see the project's uptake is doing well. And we've also been having some bit of challenges, especially when it comes to the counter funding. Some counties would delay a bit in giving counter funding, which then would also affect our trigger levels at the national government, because once we have the counter funding from the counties is when we do the next disbursement. But all those things, as we keep on moving, they're improving because the capacity has been built better than before, and also they're understanding the program better, and also people are now motivated. Yeah.
So that's from the challenges that, obviously with anything there would be challenges so long as there's human participation. We know this. But would you say that without a doubt the adequate support needed by government is available for farmers, not just now with the implementation of these projects, but then moving forward, to say that as robust as the desire is for agriculture to be in this country, supporting the youth who in terms of numbers are in plenty, is the support then adequate to make sure that this is not something that will go and then the next 5 years it doesn't exist, as sometimes we've seen with other projects?
Actually, the support is there, the will is there, and we have a team of very well-abled technical staff that keeps on sharpening their skills. We keep on sending them, even for sessions, even outside the country, for them to be able to sharpen their skills, so that they can be able to onboard the kind of skills also to the farmers and also at the county, the counties as well. So the greatest thing that there is just that will for them to want to, better the agriculture sector, sharpen their skills so they can be able then to support it further. We have a very committed workforce, and with time really, as we also onboard the youth and their levels of innovations and levels of technological uptake, we see the agriculture sector being able to evolve. But the commitment is there also from the national government, also to consult with the county governments, so that we can be able to see exactly what interventions they need. Remember that some of the programs, the way we design them, we just don't sit down in a boardroom and design a program. It comes from the ground upwards. There's a need, then we design a program that addresses that need.
Let's talk about now the end user, and this is the youth, the farmer. Looking at the youth in agribusiness strategy, and you say it has some 11 key strategic issues, and it wants to address some of these challenges. One of them, like you said, is the attitude of the youth. Agriculture is for those who have not done well, otherwise well in everything else, and you end up being the fallback position is agriculture. What have you been able to do to incentivize the youth to take up agribusiness as the one and primary thing that I want to do to develop myself?
One of the key strategies that we are applying, even as we work towards reviving of the 4K clubs, so that if an interest is born in a child when they're in their primary school level, they'll go to high school and they'll still find the young farmers clubs for continuity. And then when they leave school, say they go into universities or colleges, they're able to find the programs such as Enable Youth that are able to incubate them further and give them financing. Should they not be able to, proceed with their studies, they'll still find other programs that have been developed in line of fisheries, in line of blue economy, in line of livestock, and in line of crop development, such that they can still apply for grants and be given from a group perspective. So that continuous designing of program and ensuring that along all levels, they have a program that can be able to anchor, or a program that is able to support their interest. That is one of the key things that we are keeping on focusing on, so that there's continuity. A child doesn't develop an interest, and when they go to high school, there's no anchor activity that can further continue their interests.
But in the immediate term, the short term to medium term, there are very many youth who are graduating out of college, out of high school, and they could participate in various agribusiness ventures, but maybe just they're not able to. What is it that this program and others that you're doing at the ministry are doing to make sure that you pull in these young people into seeing agribusiness opportunities as viable opportunities?
Actually, one of the key things that we are doing is the issue of access to finance, because you see, youth say, some say we want to get into this activity along the value chain, but we do not have the finance.
Yeah.
So already the financing model is already there, where we do a risk guarantee fund, the 0% facility, the 5% facility, and also grants at the county level, at the ward level.
And this is accessible to all the youth?
This is accessible because we, like now when we talk about the risk guarantee fund, it's going to make available about 5 billion in terms of the financial institutions being able to lend out the money. And this one is already money that His Excellency has already instructed, give this financing to the youth. The other thing in terms of how they are able to access also is for instance, the Enable Youth Program. We are targeting 10,000 youth as beneficiaries directly. And then by model, we are supposed to also onboard, as we develop their business proposal and as we incubate them, they're supposed to demonstrate how they are going to onboard another 5 youth in their business enterprises or 10 youth. So even as we develop their proposal, we also want to be convinced about the sustainability model of the enterprises that they want to get into. And then again, these enterprises, enterprises along the agricultural value chains, they're supposed to then, create sustainable businesses out of them that are then able to employ. The other thing is, of course, getting the youth to understand that you don't have to be in production alone, just showing them those options. You can be an extension service provider, especially where you see a lot of challenges. If you sit down and try and invent a solution, that is a direct solution, that is a direct way of, you being able to get an income from it, because everyone is looking for solutions, even at the farmer level. So that kind of unbundling of the sector, of the value chain rather, such that you can take place in production, you can be a transporter, you can be, you can be a formulator of animal feeds. Just that knowledge. And as we speak right now, we have programs which are already, as we are implementing them in the counties, like ESDSP2. What it does is we have focused on 3 value chains across the entire country, even in Nairobi, because it's in 47 counties. So if you want to understand, say, the poultry value chain, the opportunities along the poultry value chain, we've already made investments and we have technical staff that are able to help you, analyze the poultry value chain and tell you this is where you can be able to edge in here. So you can be able to set up a business enterprise along this node of the value chain. And then should you have the interest, there's also financing for that. So it's an approach where they not only need money, but they also need to know exactly the opportunities along certain.
Okay.
How do you measure success, and what are your success stories?
How we measure a success is just being able to, we keep on going to the ground. That is where our work is. We are more field officers. So just seeing the youth, because we also have records of these youth from where they started and where they are. Even being able to visit these youth and see that they've actually expanded, or they're able to sustain their businesses without shutting down. That is actually a show of sustainability in how they implement. But monitoring and evaluation is one of the key components that is embedded in all our programs, all the 15 programs. We already have a monitoring and evaluation component in all the programs, so that we can be able to assess the impact, what do we need to improve in these programs, and how the progress.
Can you give us maybe one story of, I'm sure there are very many that stand out for you as success stories, those that you visited on the ground. Just give us maybe one that you tell us, this is what happened to this youth and this is where they are right now.
We have, let me give an example of a child, because that is what really touched me the most. We have this child who back then, when I was still in the county, we had started the issue of introducing back, in a small way at the county level, introducing back agriculture, to the school clubs, the 4K clubs. And what we did is we paired that time when I was in the county government, we paired that time with a program called DSP2, which is a national government program. And the children, through the agricultural club, they were able to choose an enterprise within their schools. And this time, the kids chose vegetables. And that child used to come to school dirty all the time. And his colleagues would ask him, why don't you shower? Why are you dirty? And unfortunately, the kid came from a very humble background. The mother was a drunkard, sorry to say, and she could not be able to buy the kid soap. So the kids within the clubs, and that is why these clubs, we have really to infuse the aspect of being caring and compassionate.
How old was this child?
The child was about 8 years, young children. So the kids from the agricultural activities, they went about setting up the agricultural gardens. But even before that, the kids really, they had some bit of contribution, and they bought the small kid soap. But from the agricultural activities, this kid took the knowledge from home, from school, and went and set up an agricultural club at home, because we emphasize on knowledge transfer from school to home, and also from home to school. And this kid, there's a time we hosted a school tour for them at Egerton University. So when this kid came, he was very clean. He had a jacket, he had socks. And then when we asked him, how were you able to do this? And he said, I sold vegetables, that were at his home. And even his mom, who was actually a drunkard, started seeing the kind of enterprise that the kid, the child selling vegetables. So the mother even changed. The mother warmed up to this kid. And we even have parents' days where the mother never used to come for those meetings for the schools. So you saw the mother also started warming up to the child. So some of these things, as much as we may really underestimate the power of a child being able to transform the parents, some of these things actually we see them on the ground, especially when we mix the children and also we mix the technical bit. So this is something that actually inspired me as a person. And if we can also do this on a large scale, we would have a lot of compassionate stories out there
that you can tell people.
That we can tell. That is on a child level. Also for the youth, we've also had youth. We have some youth in Kiambu that we took them through DSP2. They were trained on feed formulation. They have their own feed shop in Kiambu. And what they do is they formulate feeds, and they also have farmers that they sell the feed to. So they are competing with the big brands that do feed formulation.
So they've come together as a group of youth.
They've come together as a group of youth. So they're doing feed formulation, and also they were trained by one of our programs called DSP2. Because one of the things that we do is we analyze a value chain, and then we give them the capacity building to be able to, know exactly what it entails when it comes to feed formulation.
Right. As we come to the conclusion of today's conversation, and we'll hope to have you again soon, one message, if you were to give one message to the youth who are listening today, and even people who know the youth who are looking for opportunities, and there's opportunities in the agribusiness value chain, what would you tell them?
One key thing that I want to really urge my fellow youth to actually observe is whenever you see a challenge, don't be too quick to look at the problem. Be quick to look at the solution that you can offer, in these particular challenges, because it is in offering the solutions that you create an employment opportunity for yourself. And let challenges, because challenges, we wake up to challenges every other day. Just how we look at challenges and how we react to them. That is what really defines us. And the critical thing is also, just be curious enough to see the kind of programs that the government has. If you go to the website, you're able to see all these programs already highlighted on our website. If you want to understand them better, go to the county government staff, because we've already built their capacity then at the ward level, the sub-county level. Be curious to know how these programs can be able to support you and how you can be able to access the financing.
Thank you very much. Ann Nyaga is the Chief Administrative Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture, Livestock, Fisheries and Cooperatives. We've been talking about youth empowerment and for youth to see and take advantage of opportunities in agribusiness. This is AgriTalk in the Situation Room. For more on such conversations, remember to tune in to KTN's Farmers TV, With Philip Kaitani every day between 4 and 5 p.m. This AgriTalk, more and more such conversations, and also on Spice FM, because this is what we do on a regular basis. We've been live on KT and Home for the last 2 hours. Time for us to say goodbye to our audience, but also tell you that the conversations happen every weekday, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Spice FM. And you continue to Spice FM 94.4 in Nairobi. In Mombasa, it's 87.9, 102.5 in Kisumu, Nakuru 96.0, 96.7 in Eldoret. Nyeri is 90.9. And Malindi is 97.7. In the next hour, we have more and more conversations looking at what matters in this country.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. Spice FM. Nyeri.
Sugar and spice and everything nice, just the way you like it.
The Spice Drive.
Did you have a great day? I hope you did. I intend to make it better from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. I'm going to be taking you home nice and chill. Everyone is welcome aboard. The hashtag is Spice Drive and, of course, Spice FM KE on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
The Spice Drive with Monique. The official soundtrack of getting you where you need to be. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
All right, it's 5 minutes to 9. The conversations continue right here on Spice FM. So as we conclude the conversation about on AgriTalk in the Situation Room, youth opportunities, you hear the number of programs that she has mentioned. DCCCP2, SCCC1, many.
DSSPP3.
Yes, there are quite a number of programs that are being rolled out and people are already aware on the ground. There are some who are not aware. I think now the challenges would be, how do you make sure that everybody knows that this is available? You can walk into this office and I can find this available. Challenge on the CECs, challenge on the county governments, the governors, and also challenge at the national level.
You know what? When there's that narrative of putting it out there that agriculture, for example, is only for the poor and the disadvantaged or those who didn't have an opportunity, here is an opportunity that lays bare to be able to say that this is something lucrative that young people can actually get involved in, because it's not just back-breaking work. It also then involves thinking and management skills and other skills that you wouldn't think. You would think that, okay, it was taking a hold to the ground and that was it. But it's a lot more than that. There's a science to it that needs to be understood. I think it is laudable that this is being done across the country. My hope would also be that communication is constant in terms of what is happening, because there are very many people who could benefit from something like this. I mean, suffice to say that it's available at ward level, and at the very lowest of levels, you can get the information that you need. However, I think there also needs to be the pushing of this information out there, very visible, extremely visible, to let people know that what is available. And that these projects must have longevity. It can't be something that starts and stops. It has to be something that, keeps going, that people can say, yes, I built my life, I built my career on something like this, and it's something that I can also pass down. Because we've heard it, right? Look at where we're combining these two things. We've heard that agriculture is the future for the economy. We've also heard that the economy also rests on the shoulders of the youth. So if we're able to put these two things together, don't you think that we could create some development magic here? I think so. There's a lot that can be done.
They have the work cut out for them, because you'll be fighting against the narrative that has held sway for the longest time with regards to agriculture. But also significantly, they have the challenge of climate change. And they also have the challenge of simply understanding the depletion of the nutrients in our soils, the effects on our soils, fertilizers. I'm certain that if we had asked this question, we should have had a response to it. But the truth of the matter is that it is no longer as simple as it once was. There's a lot more that is happening right now.
That's true. But at the same time, people are still eating and food is being grown. So this even increases the opportunities, especially for the youth. So you're thinking you need to get in here. How do you feed the nation? What is it that can happen that you can do along the entire value chain, like you're saying, from the very end, from the market, and then from the very beginning at production. What can you do? Think about empowering and empowerment of farmers on soil management, empowering on farmers on seed and getting to know the best seed for this area. That's why she was talking about even extension officers. You can be an extension officer where you create awareness and you charge for that, where you can participate in actually growing. All those opportunities abound. But people need to be shown that there's an opportunity here. If you think about the information that you hear about counties and what counties are doing to roll out programs like, Murang'a County giving out seedlings, tree seedlings and avocado. Let's go into this and to avocado. Others giving out, talking calves and chicken and such. Imagine bringing the youth together in a certain county and telling them, so this is what we're going to do. You guys, you'll do this and the other. So we have avocado that is going to export market. You can play along this value chain and you can plug yourself here. You've got chicken that's going into the local market. You've got all those are big opportunities. When we end up importing eggs from neighboring countries and other far countries because we are not able to meet the demand locally, that tells you something, that there's a gap somewhere that can be filled.
Or even when you look at things like the interventions that need to come in lowering the cost of production for farmers in this country.
In tech, because we're educated.
What do we look? When you look at products coming in from Tanzania, for example, look at products coming in from Uganda, what is it that they've been able to do? It's not sophisticated as such, but they've been able to lower the cost of production so that you even have surplus. You have surpluses, and until the point that they're able to export. I don't think that these countries are exporting to Kenya because they're
left hungry,
right? So that they're left hungry. It's because there's extra, right? And how are they able to do this? And I think these are some of the things that need to be looked at. So I mean, across the board, it is possible to do some magnificent work when it comes to agriculture in this country.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Keep it right here for more conversations around this. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. It's now 9 o'clock.
Spice up your life. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
So the thing has been this morning, don't use Ngong Road, don't use Mombasa Road, don't use Waiyaki Way, don't use Kiambu Road. So folks are expected to do what? Fly this morning? That's the question. Stay at home. My goodness. It's been an absolute mess today. Traffic everywhere you look. The eastern and southern bypasses are up for use. But then again, the question is, so then where do you end up? Right? So traffic has been one for the books this morning. Hopefully it will ease up in a short while. But just know that there's certain places where you're going to be. So if you're headed towards Thika Road or on Thika Road currently, you might be here for a while. It will enable you to plan, or if you plan to be here tomorrow as well. Mombasa Road the same, as was Ngong Road and Waiyaki Way today. So here's an opportunity for you to plan for the rest of the day. Okay? Talk to us through the day if you need to. Spice FMKE on Twitter or text on 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only...
2 minutes after 9. This is the fourth and final hour of The Situation Room this morning. C.T. Muga, today's proverb.
Not everyone who chases a zebra caught it, but he who caught it chased it. If you want to catch a zebra. Or better said, if you don't want to catch a zebra,
don't chase it. Okay. Not everyone who chased a zebra caught it. But he who caught it chased it. Okay. Ni sawa, tumekubali kama ni hivyo umesema. Kama ni hivyo umesema, sasa sisi tutasema nini? Na wewe umesema. Si ni sawa?
Well, you can choose another animal to chase.
Yes. You can choose whatever animal you want to chase.
Yes,
you chase
exactly.
it.
And
As long as you catch it, you've chased it.
And if you find a zebra too fast, choose a slow animal.
Okay. So let's have a political conversation, CT. The headlines in the Standard Nation, does the Star have the same as a headline somewhere?
The Star?
Well, the leader of the ODM, he had a conversation yesterday.
Nah, the Star has a different headline.
All right.
Yes.
But is it nowhere there?
It talks about Kenyatta plans Sagana Forum to tame Ruto wave.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay. So the headline, the big headline in the Standard is, "You owe me a debt." In a renewed charm offensive for President Uhuru's backyard, the ODM leader, Raila Odinga, tells the region that it owes him a big political debt accumulated over the last 57 years by the three presidents of the country. And now it's time to repay. Now, these are the three Kikuyu presidents, we can say. Jomo, Mwai, and Muigai. Right? So, those ones. Nation says political debt. Raila said it's payback time for Mount Kenya. He reminded Mount Kenya voters that they have his political debt, which should be settled before that of Deputy President William Ruto. He says the debt is cumulative since it spans 57 years, when his father, Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, helped the nation's founding father, Jomo Kenyatta, ascend to the presidency before he himself, Raila Odinga, yeye binafsi mwenyewe kwa upande wake, backed Mwai Kibaki for president in 2002. Is there a debt?
I would ask, was there a promise?
It's a place to start.
Because there are those who define a debt as a promise that is unpaid.
Yep.
So, but even more significantly, when you talk about the promise, a promise made in the political arena, what exactly is it? Is it a statement of convenience? Is it pure and guaranteed intentions that will be fulfilled in due course? And then there's the question of the politician. When you talk about politics, you must talk of the politicians, and specifically politicians in our country, Kenya. Yes. When politicians make a promise, ours go even further. When they tell you that there are certain things that they have done, what are politicians known for? Telling you the truth or telling you what they think you would like to hear? So, that is the background from which I would look at it, and I would ask, what was the quiet understanding that they had between them? Sometimes this understanding in political terms is contained in an MOU. But we don't seem to hold MOUs in very high regard. If I look at the history of our politicians, neither do we hold court rulings in very high regard.
Okay, but let's look at, for example, what the ODM leader is saying. With regards to he himself, he's talking about 2002 when he and the others left KANU, and then he and the others came and joined forces with the already existing axis of Mwai Kibaki, Wamala Kijana, and Charity Ngilu. And then they decided, let's all come together. And he, Raila Odinga, campaigned strongly and spiritedly for the election of Mwai Kibaki as president. It later emerged that there had been some agreement that was made that, you know what, when we ascend to office, we already have a draft constitution, a draft report of the Yashpal Gai Constitution Commission. We shall go to Bomas. We shall then go ahead and change the constitution. We shall have a position of prime minister, and I will occupy that position of prime minister. Or in the interim, I shall be appointed as a prime minister. It was imagined after the election. And that's what he's saying. The problem started when those who served under Kibaki when he was sick reneged on the MOU. We had an MOU to change the constitution. I was the one who was betrayed, not any other person. And he says, they are the ones with my debt. and they here being the people of the mountain region. I don't owe anyone. We went to Bomas. I was betrayed a second time because they said no to constitutional changes. It is me that they owe. So that's where he's basically basing it from.
But when he says people, who is he referring to? The general populace of the mountain?
Of the mountain.
Or is he talking about the
people
political leadership
with the people
from
with
the
whom
mountain?
he struck the deal?
Yes.
That's where now the issues come in. All right? Because even when he says mine should be repaid before William Ruto's, has William Ruto had a deal with the people of Mount Kenya?
Or has he had a deal with his president?
With his president, his brother. Then, now he's a cousin.
And these people have many brothers.
Now he's a cousin. That time he was a brother. Uhuru Kenyatta.
Can you keep up with these
But we
relations?
remember what was happening, right? In 2017, when they were campaigning together, there is one that is publicly available, where they were in a campaign rally in Eldoret, and Uhuru himself said, so here's the agreement, guys. 10 years for me, and then after that we support William Ruto, he gets his 10 years. Now, that is publicly available. What others may not be publicly available, but people have talked about, is even when they were campaigning in the mountain region, they'd say, we're working together. We are together. We have brought our communities together. We are working together. It's not just to end here. We shall go on. Now, this is what was capitalized now by the Tanga Tanga move. And when they were going around, they were saying, look, guys, look, this is a pledge that we made. Our brother shall stand with us. He will bring his voting bloc and help our brother rise up into State House, and then tutarudisha mkono. People now started coming out with Deni Anani, me, right? People like Ngunjiri Wamogo, the Nyeri Town MP, coming out to say there is nothing like debt.
Which debt? Yeah.
There's no debt. Musicians coming out with songs and saying there's no debt. But politicians also going around the country and saying, okay, no debt, but we made a promise. We promised our brother that we shall stand with him. And that's why we are. William Ruto himself going around the mountainside saying, no. I am owed no debt. I am owed no debt, but I did this, what I did. So basically just playing the other side of the psychology of, no, it's not that you owe me, but he's softly reminding you that, you know what, I participated in the campaign for your brother to get to the office. So in the same way, please remember, all right? So the question is Raila owed a debt?
From his perspective, he absolutely is. I mean, from what he said. And, it's not just by virtue of the fact that he's saying it, but he's, if we're going to go by what this report is saying, that I did certain things. There's certain sacrifices that I made, and the understanding was that you would then give me the support that I needed in the future to go on and take on the presidency or whatever position it was that he would be looking for. So in terms of saying, I'm going to let down my race when Kibaki was coming into leadership, I could have been the president, but I decided to.
Could have been a candidate.
I could have been a candidate, but decided to. Well, of course, and then from there leading to president.
Maybe
but
not.
Then,
go on ahead.
But then, what he's essentially saying is that I gave that up. My father also gave it up. And then even today, I gave it up once again. Whereas there were so many things that were in contention, I gave it up. And so from his point of view, he is owed a debt. But then what have we seen often is that things that have been said are for momentary expediency at that point. People are ready to say anything to get in the door, as in other situations as well. In the moment, you will say anything that is needed to be said in order to get your way through. And that's what we've seen. And he should be one of the ones who would understand it in this country, that sometimes when people are telling you they'll give you an opportunity, that they actually don't mean it. That they're going to use you at that point to get what they need to get. He should know this more than anybody else in this country. That when somebody's telling you something, whether it's understood, whether two of you in the room or you're speaking in front of a mammoth crowd, that whatever people are telling you in the moment, my friend, you ought to take it with a bag of salt. That the chances of them giving you that thing which they've told you in the heat of the moment, of it actually coming to fruition, very, very slim pickings, my friend. Slim pickings. Who are you going to come and tell now that you owe debt and they'll listen to you?
Okay, I think I look at it from two ways. On one, I see where Raila is coming from. On the other, I see Raila has just made another verbal blunder. One of those that he's been making in the last 12 months. On where I see his point, if you to look at it politically, all right? When Raila was campaigning alongside Mwai Kibaki, he was campaigning alongside Mwai Kibaki and going across the country. The people of Mount Kenya who were supporting Mwai Kibaki's presidency saw a brother who was working in support of their brother. And that is why at that point, Raila in that region was called Jamba. Jamba is a hero. He was called publicly the hero because they saw, well, this guy has worked so hard to get our brother elected when our brother was sick around the country. So on that front, you could say politically, if we just say, oh, Mount Kenya is one homogeneous unit and therefore it votes as one block and therefore it should think the same.
It actually
and
isn't.
It is the one that even was sitting back and thinking Mwai Kibaki is ours, so it all voted Mwai Kibaki because it's Kikuyu.
But it didn't.
But if we just to look and say, if we look at that thread and say, oh, Mwai Kibaki was Kikuyu and therefore Raila was supporting a Kikuyu and therefore the Kikuyu got their money in and therefore if you look at it that way, maybe. If you look at it that way, the same way you can say, when Jaramogi said no, until those 6 are released so that we can get Jomo and Jomo can come and lead us, if you can look at it that way, if Jaramogi was not considering the other 5 that included Chieng Oneko, if he was only looking at the one Kikuyu called Jomo, then you can say that Jaramogi the Luo sat and said, no, and helped the Kikuyu get their man to become president. So, that from that side of the politics, you can say the 57 years makes sense. Jaramogi did, Raila did. Raila has even shaken hands now with this Kikuyu president and brought peace to the country. And the Kikuyu are peacefully occupying the seat. We can argue back and forth about that. Why I have a problem with saying I'm owed a debt directly is just from that point of, if I owe you, my friend, I know I owe you. You don't have to keep every time you're passing outside my house. Na unajua uko na deni yangu. No. It just starts now irritating the person. So even if I wanted to pay you today, I'm like, kulipi and the police. So it stands a chance of actually, instead of making people feel, oh yes, man, pulling on that guilt trip, and making people feel, actually, yeah, let's forget about Ruto for now. Let's give this. If that was the argument, then somebody would think, wait.
So you're
I owe
saying,
you what?
So you're saying
I'm
that
not going to pay you.
So you're saying that even if he's owed, it's in bad taste to ask for something that you're owed.
To come out openly and say.
You should wait until it's then offered to you, and then that would be fine.
No, play it a different way. Don't say it directly.
Did Raila actually ask and say, because of these 57 years, you now owe me?
He said, they are the ones with my debt.
Yes, and he was specific about the group.
Yes.
Because they had agreed.
Yes.
Yes.
They are the ones with my debt.
That group is no longer in power.
I don't owe anyone. We went to Bomas. I was betrayed a second time because they said no to constitutional changes. It is me they owe.
Yes. That group who are no longer in power. Some are even no longer alive.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the issue of political debt comes to something very, very plain and simple. The individuals who are involved in that process and the sort of persons that they are. Are they people whose words can be taken as gospel or currency? Or are they people who are known to simply say what they're saying? And
Are we talking about politicians?
For now.
I'm talking about individuals.
Okay.
I'm now not generalizing and just saying politicians. Okay? Because there are politicians who keep their word. There are politicians who have a mandate from their constituencies and have managed to do exactly what they told the constituencies they were going to do. And they keep trying to do the very same thing. But I am saying, that's why I'm bringing it down to the individual. Now, when promises of this sort are made, and then they are seen not to have been kept, among the group who agreed on this, you have to ask the question, what exactly was at play here?
That's what I'm saying. Are you trying to use this individual to then meet your own gains, and then whatever promises you made before, you would throw them out the window? Or if this person went on doing the work that they said they were going to do for you, or letting down whatever ambitions they had for you at that moment, were you just asking him to do it so that you could get ahead? But then what happens to that honor that you had put on the table at that point?
You see, now you've introduced a new topic, honor, okay? If you look at, say, for instance, parliamentary systems around the world, where it's a party system that actually supports an individual, whether they want to go for the seat of a presidency or a member of parliament, you see that coalition of former this, former that, coalescing, because they're members of the party to support an individual. They may even have personal differences, but for purposes of that election, they come together. In our system where an individual is the party, the leader of the party is actually the party. And in the absence of that particular individual, that party is as good as dead. Okay? So when a promise is made, is it individuals making promises to each other, or is it that system of politics within that particular group making the promise? Now you see...
Or is it the community, the people who speak that language that the leader comes from?
That they represent then?
No. You see, I think there's a limit as to what representation should mean here. Okay? The discussions politicians have...
The broader translation here is Mount Kenya is because Mwai Kibaki. Mount Kenya is because Jomo Kenyatta. All right? Kikuyu speaking people, Kikuyu president. Now, of course, in 2002, there were two Kikuyu presidential candidates. One was Uhuru Kenyatta, the other one was Mwai Kibaki. So one can argue, but you betrayed our Uhuru.
But you see, again, you've read what was said. What was said, or what is quoted as having been spoken by Raila, targets a specific group. He said they. Had he said you, then it would mean, because this person was your leader and comes from your neck of the woods, then all of you owe me. Okay? Now, stating the fact is that they had an agreement with that group of people. Right? They reneged on whatever promise they had made. So, as far as that goes, he has a point. Indeed, they owed him. But if you're talking about people who have been in leadership, whose own people keep talking about promises that were made to them and were never kept, how then can you say that those leaders actually represent their people, or their people are included in that agreement? They're not.
20 minutes after 9, let's take a break, take a look at the weather, and then we open up this conversation as well. So, is there a debt? Is there a debt to Raila Odinga? Is there a debt to William Ruto by the people of the mountain? Is there a debt to anyone by anyone? By any community? Anyone to anyone? Of course, there are very many debts. Is there a debt, a political debt, by any tribe, to another leader, to an individual in this country that needs to be paid up? 21 after 9.
Spice FM.
Hey, it's getting hot in here. The media has greatly contributed to the moral rot that we experience in this country.
I remember a senior politician telling me, point blank, nobody steals in the field, it's stolen in the granary. So my friend, if you're going to win an election, jipange kwa granary.
I think we are suffering from Stockholm syndrome. Our violator and abuser is also our redeemer in our mind.
The whole political class, the whole political institution is rotten. It is based on ideals that cannot progress our country forward.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. The weather with Spice FM.
It's mostly cloudy in Nairobi. Well, sun is coming out a little bit. 17 degrees. We're going to see highs of 26 and lows of 15. It's mostly cloudy in Nyeri. 17 degrees, highs of 24, coming down to lows of 9 today. Cloudy conditions in Nakuru at 19, highs of 29 and lows of 12. 25 is the high in Eldoret today at 12 at the moment. Well, sunny conditions coming down to lows of 11. The lows will be 17 in Kisumu. Highs of 31 and mostly cloudy conditions. We're looking at mostly cloudy as well in Kakamega. Highs of 33 and lows of 12 today. It's partly sunny in Mombasa. Highs of 31. The rain seems to have stopped there, coming down to lows of 24. It's still raining in Malindi at 27. Highs of 31 and lows of 24. Cloudy conditions in Kampala at 18. Highs of 26. We're looking at light rain in Dar es Salaam at 27 at the moment. Highs of 32 and lows of 25. Cloudy conditions at 17 in Johannesburg. Highs of 21 and lows of 15. It's 24 degrees and still falling foggy in Lagos, highs of 34 and lows of 24. Mostly cloudy conditions in Kinshasa, highs of 34 and lows of 24. It's 8 degrees now and sunny in Beijing, highs of 7 and lows of -9. It's a 1 below 0 in Paris, highs of 5 and lows of 3. It's 1 degree in London, highs of 6 and lows of 1. And finally now into Tuesday morning, clear conditions in New York, 1 degree, highs of 2 and lows of 1.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings.
And the conversation continues right here. 0719-012-600. 0719-012-600. Is there anybody who is owed a political debt by a community? Raila Odinga or William Ruto or anybody else by a community? This is bringing back the whole community conversation. Is it now time then for another community to come in, because already 2 communities have occupied this seat for the last 57 years?
I think, unfortunately, the tribal card because what this does, the tribal card is definitely still being played here. There will be many, many interpretations and perceptions of this, meaning that essentially the Kikuyu owe Raila Odinga a chance at this and to throw their support behind him by virtue of the fact that he did so much, that his father did so much from generational presidency, right? So that is the perception, that he's owed something, and that the region ought to come together as a bloc and support him. Because if anything can be inferred from this is what it's saying, that look, I helped the son of your soil 3 times over to be able to come into this position. It's about time that this region came together and threw their support behind me. Because of we're looking at quid pro quo here, to say that, yes, I did this so you do for me. That's essentially what is happening here. Now, when people said it, whether they did so within the confines of a room somewhere, in a political rally, we don't know. When was this said? When was this agreement, when was this promise made? At the end of the day, for me, it really doesn't matter, because you're talking here with politicians who had no blinking right to make a promise on behalf of an entire group.
But also,
on behalf of an entire region.
But
if they did, should
real.
you have taken it as that?
Let's be real and look at how we play our politics. Every time we have a conversation here, we talk about how people vote on tribal blocks, how people think about their political candidates from tribal lenses. Okay? So it is clearly possible that the people who were campaigning and voting for Uhuru Kenyatta in 2013 and 2017 in Mount Kenya were thinking about Uhuru as Kikuyu. Very possible, right? It's also very possible that those who were voting for Uhuru Kenyatta in the Rift Valley, where William Ruto comes from, were looking at it from, William Ruto is one of us, he's supporting this guy, so therefore let's support him. So they voted for Uhuru Ruto ticket on that ground, on the basis of our guy is going to be the vice president, the deputy president, and this guy is going to be the president. Right? And even if we look at the argument that was put forth by those 2 candidates, was we are bringing our 2 communities together so that our 2 communities shall not fight again. So our 2 communities shall think the same, they shall vote the same, they will, advance their affairs together. So it was tribal. So therefore, you can argue that if this tribe and this tribe joined and they took these campaigns together so that they can elect their 2 leaders, then there was some unspoken understanding. Politically, there's an unspoken understanding that us guys are supporting you guys, or us guys are working together so that your guy will be the president, your president, and our guy will be the deputy, with the understanding that after his term is over, then we shall reciprocate and you'll give our guy. There's that. There's that also possible argument that when the people who were supporting Mwai Kibaki in Mount Kenya region were seeing Raila. They were seeing Raila and thinking, hey, yes, he is bringing that vote from Nyanza to support our brother to rise. So there's a conversation that's being held among those gentlemen and ladies in that room who know one another and who know what they're saying, but they also know that they're saying, I am bringing the Luo vote, I'm bringing the Nyanza vote to this table so that we can get there, and now you guys will get me something. It's not that I am bringing the Odinga family vote, I am bringing the Nyanza block vote. This is the reality of our politics. Now we can start running around here and going, did you have a conversation with just two people? Were those two people, do those two people even get elected in their own backyards? That is a different conversation altogether, if we are to be honest politically.
So then where would
Did Raila convince Nyanza people to vote for Kibaki? Yes or no?
And the evidence of that would be in the percentage of people who actually voted.
Yes.
97.
And look in the next election where Raila did not convince the people of the Nyanza region to vote for Mwai. Did they vote for him? No. So
you're saying they owe him?
Yes.
So the people of Mount Kenya region owe Raila Odinga their support moving forward.
Eric, let me ask this question.
Yes.
Eric, I hear what you're saying, but let me ask this question. Shouldn't we also look at how far representation actually goes? Because, you see, when a leader makes a decision and it affects you or it includes you, are you the example you've given actually answers what I'm asking in part. Because for the Luo Nyanza vote, or the vote in Nyanza to go towards, or those in ODM to go towards Mwai Kibaki, Raila had to do some convincing.
Yes.
Remember, prior to that, he had joined KANU.
Yep.
And even that had caused disquiet. There are people who said, surely.
Where are you taking us?
Surely, what on earth is this? And they were unhappy about it. It's not that they were not unhappy about this one. They were, but he said, okay, if that's what you seem to think, now let me ask the question, was it reciprocal with the people he was making the agreement with? Had they also gone and said, folks, this particular individual here has been instrumental in helping us get to this position. All right? Because I'm saying it's representative. It's not, I got it, it's we have gotten here.
Yes.
That's the narrative of the politician. We have now gotten this thing. Was that narrative carried to the voters so that they were included? Okay, there was no public participation then, but did they public participate in this thing?
You know what I believe, is that even if they don't go and say openly and clearly and saying, no, we as Kikuyu have been supported by this man who leads the Luo, it has been inferred.
For sure.
There is that inference. And the same thing happens in 2013 and 2017. That's why when the Ndende Nyoros and the others are going around Central saying, you guys, we made a promise. We made a promise. Not many people are saying, no, we didn't. Those who support Ruto in Mount Kenya right now will tell you, we made a promise. This man stood with us. What is standing with us? Standing with us what? Who's us?
He got you his voting block to support you.
That we as Kikuyu, why not for this guy? Things would have gone south. So there, if we just talk about the reality of our politics, is that there is a debt that is owed these two gentlemen.
But what you're saying
in
is that
different
he should
times.
not come out and ask for it openly.
Now,
there's the understanding that that debt is there. So whether it's what we are saying now is it's not that he's owed that is the contention here. We know he's owed. We know that he gave his support time and time and time again. So it's time for his support to also now come from this other side.
It is the wording of
now,
it.
What you're saying the problem is don't come out directly and say you owe me, pay me.
But did he address the voting population of Central, or was he specific? I keep saying, that's why I read it.
The same way it's being inferred here that there is a debt anyway.
He could have said, Michuki told me.
Saying, I was told. You could have said, anybody told me. Yeah. The same way it was being inferred that there is a debt to begin with in the first place is the same way it should be inferred in terms of how it's going to be paid.
All right,
that you shouldn't come out and say directly, look, guys,
you see,
you owe me, so pay me. I want today's payday. I'm collecting now.
Even when he's talking about Jaramogi and Jomo, he is not saying that, you know what, Jaramogi had visited Jomo or Jaramogi had sat down with people who were working closely with Jomo and those people then. No. When he's talking about collecting a debt that is owed to Jaramogi, those many days, he should be going to those families. Those people, he asked them, your father, promised my father.
You know what is also of interest when you talk about this?
It is clear he's talking about that block.
There is something about debt, political debt. It's a currency whose value doesn't seem to last very long. And I'm going to... You see, in central Kenya, for instance, Ndu, you may not know this, but for a long time, there were many politicians who would get voted in on the narrative of the Mau Mau. All you require is a generational change.
Bas.
People who, for them, it's a story. They didn't experience it, they didn't know it. You may say it, but it will simply not resonate.
I was just about to pick Felix's call. Felix from Kisumu, I was just putting you on air. Please call back.
Please go ahead.
Please call back, Felix. We dropped him. So we can have this conversation. 0719-012-600. Then let's take this break. Take a look at what's happening on the roads, right? And then we come back to the conversation. 0719-012-600. That's 0719-012-600. And Spice FM KE on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram as well. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
Okay, looking a little bit better in some parts at least. Getting into the CBD this morning, coming off Uhuru Highway. It was a bit slow earlier. It's a bit slow, still a bit slow as you're trying to get then into the CBD, out then towards Westlands. This one you're just going to have to sit through unless you want to go the longer way and use the other little routes to get there. Looking a little bit better coming off of Mombasa Road as then you get to the Nyayo Stadium roundabout. It's going to slow you down a little bit just at Nyayo Stadium, and then out should be okay. Jogo Road looking much better out through Landis Road into the CBD as well. That has opened up quite some. Coming off of Thika Road, however, still a little bit tight. But as we get past 10 o'clock, it should be all right until later on in the day. All right? It looks like the traffic situation is just going to keep building up on Mombasa Road until we get back into evening. This one we have to plan for. All right? Spice FM KE on Twitter. Talk to us 0401 275 text.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
5 to 10. Let's go to
94 point.
Prince Kaboyo in Kisumu. Good morning.
Good morning, Spice.
Morning to you, Prince.
About the debt, I wanted to discuss about the debt.
Yes, is Raila owed a debt?
The fact is that Raila would be owed a debt, but I think there is where he made a mistake of standing against Kibaki. So you see, when you support me like Ruto has supported Uhuru, you again don't stand against me before my term expire, meaning before the 2 term. Maybe if we had already had discussed about 1 term, we don't know that. But I think he's standing against Kibaki in 2007. It cleared all the debt.
It cancelled all the debt.
Cannot say, they cannot say now. Like Ruto, he can. I think you are getting my point.
Actually, I'd like to ask. So now that Ruto is in Tangatanga, he's also cancelling the debt, is he?
No, Ruto is in Tangatanga, but in reality, the last election he did not stand against.
So he supported him twice at the ballot.
He supported him twice at the ballot.
Okay.
But Raila supported Kibaki in one term. And Kibaki, in fact, he showed interest that he wanted to go for the second term. We could have waited for him to finish the second term. But he didn't do that. That was a mess.
Okay. Thank you, Prince.
Yep. You're welcome.
0719-012-600. What do you think? Is Raila owed a debt? Is William Ruto owed a debt? Sindano says Raila rode the wave, the tsunami in 2005 when the Kibaki Central Mafia failed in the constitutional referendum. He continued to cause chaos in 2007. His runs persisted into 2013, 2017. We owe our backs to a man whose personal gratification has tribal backing.
No, that's his view.
Yep.
That's his view.
Got it. We hear you. 0719-012-600. So is it, what do you think? That thing of it's cancelled. You should have supported me and stood with me through and through. But then when you abandon
when the
ship,
partnership comes into place, then
when you
whatever is
abandon
owed
ship,
from one side disappears.
cancels out. Charles in Homo Bay, good morning.
Hello.
Hello, Charles.
Hello, good morning.
Morning to you.
Yeah.
Is Raila owed a debt?
To me, in my mind, I think it shouldn't be a narrative of someone coming out in public and saying that someone owes me. When it comes to politics, it's about betrayal. But then the real thing, it should be like just a father and a son or a father and a daughter. When you're being schooled and paid school fee and then you get a job, it should ring in the back of your mind that I should reciprocate by helping my dad or my parents. But it shouldn't be something you're coming out and saying you owe me a debt, because it was a pact you made, you two people. We were not there. We shouldn't be helping you paying that. Yeah.
So you have a problem with him coming out publicly to say you owe me.
Exactly.
It's like
a
parent saying,
you are not involved.
Sasa umemaliza shule.
Nimewacha lazima sasa unilipe. It shouldn't be like that.
Thank you, Charles. Let's
Thank
hear
you,
from Anthony in Mombasa. Good morning, Anthony.
Good morning. How are you?
Very well, thanks.
Nzuri sana, long time.
Kabisa. Happy New Year to
Yeah,
you.
mnaendeleaje? Happy New Year to you too.
Salama kabisa. What do you think? Is Raila owed?
I don't think we were either anything, because like the gentleman before said, he went haywire. He went against Kibaki. So hiyo tayari ili cancel whatever we would have thought of him. And another thing.
So you're saying we?
Compare.
You?
Yes, I'm a Kikuyu.
Okay.
He said the Mount Kenya.
Do you owe Ruto?
He said the Mount Kenya. I don't kindly say we owe Ruto. What I would say is we have a promise to keep. A promise was made. First of all, Ruto has stood with Uhuru from 2013. He has stood with him all along the journey, up to today. Another thing, Ruto, being in Tanga, has not gone against, or is not standing against Uhuru. He has always said he respects his boss.
Really?
And
but
he
the
has,
president has said this man is starting to run to
hiyo ni president na mambo yake, because what we can see, in fact, mwenye anaenda kinyume, mwenye tunashuku anaenda kinyume, ni Uhuru anaenda kinyume na agano lake. Uhuru alisimama mbele ya umati na mbele ya Mungu before the elections. He stood, or they knelt down, they were prayed for, and he said very well, yangu 10 nimalize niachie. Those clips zimejaa na tuko nazo.
Okay.
Hata akisema yeye hawezi achia, mtu mwingine ataachia Ruto. He said that.
Sawa, Anthony.
So all we are saying is let if kama Ruto tunasema anaenda against Uhuru, let Uhuru tell us where did Ruto go wrong.
Okay.
Being in Tanga is not wrong. It's just that ameona Uhuru anasupport upande ule mwingine kidogo, ameegemea huko na kuna mpinzani wake, yeye naye hata lalia masikio, atachangamka.
Thank you, Anthony. Let's hear from Felix in Kisumu. Good morning.
Good morning, Space FM.
How are you?
Good morning.
Much fine.
Okay, and in that conversation,
yes,
I can highly accept that the Kikuyus have Kalenjin's debt. Because I remember when Uhuru was in Eldoret campaigning, he promised there that the way Ruto has stood with him is the same way that he will be with Ruto for the next. In fact, he said that 10 years for him and 10 years for Ruto.
So the only problem there is that Mr. President promised, and then he must fulfill what he promised. He should, the way I see, he should stand with Ruto for the promise to be fulfilled.
Okay. Is Raila owed?
Raila.
Yes, Raila.
Okay, by now, Raila's politics, I'm seeing Raila politics should come to an end, the way I see.
Coming to an end, he should retire from politics.
Yeah, Raila should stop with politics, the way I see it by now.
Okay.
And let me ask this question.
Yes.
When you say someone is owed, you are taking the view that when two politicians or a group of politicians agree, then automatically they are representing the views of their communities.
Their supporters.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Felix. Zachary in Nakuru, good morning.
Oh, hi, guys.
Hi, Zachary.
How is everyone there?
Fine, thank you.
Everyone here is fine and everyone greets you.
Including Mwalimu. I also greet you.
Yes.
In the name of Umuofia, okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I know now Du is happy. Now, let me tell you. I feel that we owe nobody. And when I say we, I'm not talking about the Kikuyus or the Kalenjins or the whatever. No, I'm talking about Kenyans, okay? Do you know that we have been ranked third poorest, the people who are living in extreme poverty? We are third in the world. And it has been said that it has been proved and verified, okay, that 40% of us are living in abject poverty, extreme poverty, okay? Do you know that there are some young men in Kiabu who are given an order by a government they elected, and right now they are wallowing in debt, okay? Those are the people we owe debt. The person who could not afford a cup of porridge like the one I'm taking right now, the person who can't even afford some small credit to call his family, or even the student to contribute towards the awareness to Kenyans, those are the people we owe debt.
Okay.
Not, let me tell you my panel, Kenya does not revolve around some individuals, okay? It won't, and that one won't continue. We owe those people debt. The person who is not going to be able to afford medical, okay?
That should be the focus.
The person who is not going to afford it to eat today, those are the people you owe debt.
We hear you. Thank you, Zachary.
Thank you and have a nice day.
You too. Oliver in Nairobi, good morning.
Good morning. How are you guys?
We're fine, thank you, Oliver.
Yeah, so I think I resonate with Karis a lot more on this discussion. This idea that someone owes another a debt in the leadership space, I think it's so lopsided, and it's a rhetoric that we do not need to speak about, because it puts us in a situation where we make a conclusion that the population that's supposed to elect their leaders have an obligation to, pay some debts that were agreed upon in some boardroom spaces where they were not, included. They were not part of these discussions before. So if some people claim debts or...
We lost him. David in Siaya, good morning.
Good morning, Spice.
Good morning to you, David.
My view is politicians, they don't have any ground to speak and say that we owe them any debt. Okay. When I say we, I don't want to go tribal, but I just want to speak in general. When I say we, I mean the voters. No politician has the grounds to tell a voter that we owe them any debt. As a matter of fact, they owe us. We have been voting them all along. They have been in power. Somebody like Raila has been in power ever. The problem is they always want more. They always hate being a prime
But
minister.
let me just ask you something. What, has Raila always been in power?
It depends on what.
Always, but at some point he has been there. Why does he always want more? Okay, what kind of payment does he expect from? Like, what payment is he expecting from us? Is he still expecting us to vote him in always so that he continues staying in power? The reality is they owe us. We've been keeping those politicians as a whole, not necessarily Raila alone. All of them, they owe us.
They are the ones who owe us.
Yeah.
Thank you, David. Let's hear from Ellie in Mtwapa. Ellie, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
We're fine, thank you.
Okay, what I can say, they owe Raila a very big chunk because I know that Raila has done a very good job. Putting Kabaki in terms of, let me talk about that, it was not very easy for us people of Nyanza.
It was not very easy?
It was not very easy for us people of Nyanza to choose whether it is Uhuru or Kibaki. But Raila started to talk with us until we decided to say that, let us pay Kibaki Tosha. And I think that that was a very big chunk of, let me talk about the percentage, around 97, which has never happened. So whatever, I'm also saying that they owe us, but we also have to come with a strategy. Because I'm in Mombasa. Yesterday we went to a meeting. Aisha Juma was there. So these people have come with a strategy that they come to the ground. They are giving many people, those who are educated like us, so that they can change the mind of the people. You know, your enemy will know how to beat you when he is faster than you. So I've seen that Tangatanga has taken a step. And it is a very big step that if ODM will not change the strategic, then we are going to fail again.
Okay.
That is what I can say, but they owe us.
Sawa. Thank you very much, Ellie. They owe you.
This one has now changed.
It's not even Raila.
No.
Thank you very much. 0719-012-600. Devogoda has a different view on this conversation.
He says the statement was twisted by the media to sell the newspaper. And Raila was putting into context the story of political debt is not by force. And all he wants is to forget the past and unite Kenyans. So this is what he's saying, that Raila was saying as a result of that. In as much as he's owed, it's okay. I don't need to be paid. I want to be able to forget the past and let's unite Kenyans and move into the future.
So you were saying story of the debt is not a must. Okay. Kelvin Ngong.
Hey.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
How are you today?
I'm very okay. Can't complain.
Asante, good to have you. What do you think of the debt owed to these two gentlemen or and any other?
Now, number one, I must say, if Raila is owed by anybody, he's owed by Kibaki and the people who were in the political era at that time when they were making that pact. Now, I'm a Kikuyu. Let me just profile myself from Rift Valley, Nakuru. And in Rift Valley, we have been victims of political skirmishes for quite a long time. And when these pacts are being made, rarely do they think of the people. They think of their powers and what they are going to gain from it. So you might say that if Raila is owed by anybody, then Kibaki and the team who are there, they owe him. And if they shortchanged him during the 2007 elections, I think now that is a war that should have settled between themselves during that time, during the Nsumkate time.
Okay.
When it comes to Ruto, I may not say that we owe him as Kikuyu people, but we owe peace a chance. Now, like I said, I'm from Rift Valley. We know what has been happening between let me just use the names, not being tribal or anything, but between the Kikuyus and the Kalenjins within the Rift Valley. The pact that came between Uhuru and Ruto has made Rift Valley to be a very peaceful region for quite a long time. We owe that peace a chance again and again. So if it means that by us giving Ruto that opportunity to be the leader, if it will mean peace for the country at large, then we owe him. Not necessarily him as Ruto, but we owe that peace that will come from that, like keeping the promise, then we owe that peace.
What is this promise?
That now, when they made the pact during the 2013, it was Uhuru will go 10 years, and then Ruto will go 10 years. Now, because of that, there was peace, because there was no skirmishes in 2013, and at least in 2017, at least there was some peace. We all know where this hatred comes from most of the time. It starts in Rift Valley and then it breeds to all over the country. So this time round, I'm saying if we give this
Kelvin,
man a chance, and there will be peace.
Let me push back and throw a challenge at you. So when it comes to Kibaki, Raila, it is individuals.
Yes.
But when it comes to Uhuru, Ruto, it goes beyond the individuals into the community.
Because exactly that. Because we know what it means for a country. During Kibaki and Raila, it was a time when you were trying to overthrow the tyranny, the previous era of Moi. So it's like they were acting as, now we want to overthrow the government that is here, not overthrow.
But remember, President Moi was retiring. He was not continuing as president.
And the candidate, Moi's preferred candidate, was a Kikuyu, like Kibaki.
Of course, he was a Kikuyu. But thanks God we didn't give that Kikuyu that chance then. Because even as of now, I must say we didn't make the right choice by having the current president at hand that we have. It wasn't the right choice.
But remember that what we have now is not anything we had in the Moi era. We have a presidency, and we have a deputy president and a president, not a vice president, a deputy president. It's a unit.
It's a unit, yes.
So
but
when you point a finger at the president, rest assured, you're also pointing a finger at the deputy, and vice versa.
Very true. Very true. But what we are saying is, even if probably Uhuru had a pact with Raila in 2017, and it was so crucial that probably if the pact is not kept, it will bring so much chaos in the country, then we say that let's give them. It doesn't matter anyway. Even if you put your own cousin, probably the family may benefit. But at the end of the day, the political leaders are still the same.
Okay.
So we cannot say that by keeping so and so, as a country, we are going to benefit so much from that person being there. We can only benefit from the peace and the serenity that will be there in the country, so that as I'm doing my own business, I'll have security, and there is no one who will come to ban my business that I'm running.
But you know what you've just done? You've actually just supported the BBI without mentioning it, because the proponents of the BBI are saying exactly what you're saying. They want peace. And because they want peace, there's this stability, there's this structure that they're proposing.
To put in place.
Actually, I'm against BBI.
There.
Actually, I'm against BBI myself. I'm ready and against the BBI.
Really,
everything you've said sounds like you're in support of
have
the BBI.
Have a moment with yourself and really look at what you said.
Kelvin,
not really.
Call Kelvin to a meeting. And then
I'm up for the meeting.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Kelvin, for this day.
Thank you.
Have a good one. Okay, so as we come to the conclusion of the show, many other comments on social media, Eat Kenya and then owes the other an apology, debt or no debt. What do you make of that?
Well, I think everybody's going to have their issues here and there, but you know, if things were said, then you don't come out and ask for it. Who owes who? I think at the end of the day, really, what truth be told, who is owed is Kenyans for good leadership and right governance. That's who's owed. All these fights at the political top really
actually the problem is a lot deeper than that, because one, if you've had 3 Kenyan presidents from central Kenya, it is very easy to spread a narrative that not only is it negative, but it is also harmful. Because you're then going to say these people don't keep their word, and it is not these people,
and yet they have benefited from
from support that they have been given at every phase. And it is, you see, the question is, that's why when we began this discussion, I said, this is politics. You really must break it down to the individual. I mean, the politicians, yes, but break it down, because at the end of the day, the reason why politics functions is because of the same word, promise. If you support me, I'll do this. That is the language of politics. And in coalition, that language is even greater. Now, we didn't call them coalitions, but that's what they were. So, and the reason why coalitions work is promises are kept. But the moment it is broken,
the coalition breaks.
The coalition breaks. Yes. It's just the reality of politics.
So it all comes down to that.
Yes.
Okay. Let's conclude with today's proverb.
Not everyone who chases a zebra caught it, but he who caught it chased it.
Explain.
This one
Contextualize it.
Well, this one I thought was fairly obvious and straightforward. But for instance, if I don't want to lose a race, I should actually not run in the first place. So the issue of losing will not. You must wonder, what am I talking about? Well, when you win, you capture a seat or you capture a prize. You win it. So whoever wins a prize, whether it's a political position, that person has vied for it. They have run for it. We're just calling it a zebra here. But at the end of that chase, there is something that you are gunning for and you will get it. So you may run after it and not get it. But if you get it, it means you ran for it.
Mtaka cha mvunguni.
So if you want something, you need to make an effort.
You have put it very simply and to the point. And the person who has it made an effort. But it doesn't mean that if you make the effort, you'll necessarily get it.
These guys benefit so much from zebras. Hiya. It's what you said. This is from the southern part of Africa.
Yes, it
It's
is
from South Africa.
It is.
Okay.
It is.
Thank you very much for tuning into the Situation Room today. Join us tomorrow, God willing, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Now until 3 o'clock, you have uninterrupted music. And then Monique will be here on Spice Drive to take you home. Some lovely music that she plays. And then the adults in the room with more interesting and entertaining and engaging conversations from 7 o'clock to 10 o'clock in the evening. Thereafter, more music. And then CT Muga, Nduoko, and I, Eric Latif, will be back tomorrow. For now,